Good evening. The September 11th, 2025. Is there feedback?
Yes.
It sounds like there's feedback. Hello? Yeah.
Is it this?
Do you have the Hispanic heritage?
Hello? Still feedback, yeah. Try again. Am I on the speaker though? I'm on the speaker? Okay. Yeah? Okay. Just want to make sure people online can hear us. Okay. It is the September 11th, 2025 meeting of the Corvallis School Board is now called to order at 6:31 p.m. to support the health and safety of all community members, particularly those who are immunocompromised and their families. The board continues to offer a virtual participation option for board members and district staff. Public comment is available at select meetings, both in person and virtually. Details on how to provide public comment are available on the Corvallis School District website. Tonight's agenda, board packet, and a link to the district's YouTube channel can be found on the school board page of the website. All public meetings are live streamed on YouTube and recordings are typically posted the following day. Tonight we have Judah, Chris, Shauna, Therese, Bernie, and myself in attendance in person, and Sammy is in attendance virtually until he arrives in person. And the first item on the agenda is acknowledgement of Hispanic Heritage Month.
Corvallis School District 509J, Acknowledgement of Hispanic Heritage Month, Resolution number 21-0901. Whereas Hispanic Heritage Month grew out of Hispanic Heritage Week, which was established by President Lyndon Johnson in 1968, and whereas Hispanic Heritage Month was established as September 15th to October 15th through Public Law 100-402 by President Ronald Reagan in 1988, and whereas September 15th recognizes independence for Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua, September 16th recognizes independence for Mexico, September 18th recognizes independence for Chile, and October 12th recognizes Dia de la Raza, and whereas the state of Oregon has a documented history of xenophobia and anti-indigeneity, and
whereas Hispanic, Latino, AXE, and Chicano, AXE students and staff make up the largest racial or ethnic minority group in Corvallis schools, and whereas people who identify as Hispanic, Latino, AXE, or Chicano, AXE, have a rich history and have positively influenced and enriched our society and our schools through their entrepreneurship, commitment to community service, deep value of justice and liberty, and social and cultural life. And
Whereas Hispanic, Latino, Latina, Latinx, Latine, and Chicano, Chicana, Chicanx, and Chicane people have made and continue to make important contributions to education, science, art, culture, and public service, and our nation's growth and prosperity. And whereas education is a necessary component for creating a more equitable and anti-racist community, nation, and world. And
whereas the Corvallis School District has made a commitment to equity and anti-racism, and whereas the Corvallis School District has a responsibility to honor and respect the diverse histories of our community, and whereas the Corvallis School District believes each and every student must be celebrated and appreciated for the distinct and vibrant contributions made by sharing cultures, language, ideas, beliefs, and values within a school community, and, oh wait, no,
Now therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Directors of Corvallis School District 509J, Benton and Lynn Counties, Oregon, as follows. Proclaim September 15th, 2021 through October 15th, 2021, as well as each September 15th through October 15th annually as Hispanic Heritage Month in the Corvallis School District, and strongly encourage families, staff, and community members to join in existing local celebrations, and
encourage all schools in the Corvallis School District to help highlight this month in grade-appropriate ways, as well as highlight the contribution of Hispanic, Latino, Latinx, Latinx, and Chicano, X and Chicane peoples to the local community, nation, and beyond, both historically and in current times. Adopted by the Board of Directors of School District Number 509J, Corvallis of Benton and Lynn Counties, Oregon, at its regular meeting this 9th day of September 2021.
Thanks, everyone. And as a reminder, we reread those proclamations every year as a reaffirmation of the district's commitments to what is contained in them. And the next item on the agenda is board member reports. Do any board members have anything to report?
First of all, I just want to remind people that I am retired, so I get lots of opportunities to be out and do things for the district. First of all, I was able to attend the back to school rally, and I know that's a day when some people would rather be in their classrooms, but I think that with everybody there, there's just such a strong sense of unity, and I think that's really important for our school district to show that. Ryan, I thought you did a great job. Just, even as we're going into a tough time, you brought just kind of a sense of peace, I think, to it, and talking about our story, which I think is really important to share. We also, a few of colleagues up here got to serve lunch to staff, and that's always such a gift to just connect with people and get to serve our district and serve our staff members. Kim, you did a great job organizing all of that. I know that takes a lot of time and energy, and it seems like there were such great choices for everyone to have, and it all went really well. I also got to attend the resource fair at Linus Pauling. I know that Kelly helped organize that with Sarah Devine. And again, I just think it's a really good opportunity for families to come in and see the different resources. The room was full of different representatives from different agencies, and a lot of families were there to connect with those resources. A lot of district people were there just with really open arms and very welcoming to our families. So I'm just so glad that we're still doing that. I say this every year, this time of the year, and I'm going to say it again because I think it is so important that our district provides school supplies for our families. I know I say that, but in appreciation every year, but it's just such a big, important thing and takes a lot of stress off our families. We've got some families with big families, lots of kids, and it becomes very expensive. So I just want to appreciate that we are still doing that. I also had the opportunity to attend the Bridges registration day, and I will tell you, it warmed my heart to see when a student would walk in. The staff were all busy working, getting ready for the year, and everybody literally dropped whatever they were doing to stop to welcome those kids coming in. And I just thought, like those kids felt connected. And I'm excited to see what that program brings for our students. That's it.
Thanks, Chris. Anybody else have a report? Does Sammy have a report?
Thank you, Chair. I would just add to Chris's reports about the back to school rally, the same sentiments of appreciation, and also add the appreciation to the Corvallis Public Schools Foundation and community partners, nonprofits, and businesses and individuals who contributed to the grants that were distributed to educators and school staff to support the kids. So it was really great to see that support visible during the rally, and want to thank those partners who did that, and hope that we find more partners as well.
Thanks, Sammy. And I'll add that I also attended the back to school rally, and I know Bernie was there too. And it was really great to welcome staff and offer words. And I really appreciated seeing the excitement of the district staff that received those vouchers for the supplies. I think that really makes a difference for a lot of folks. So thank you to the foundation on that as well. I also attended the Indian Education Parent Committee meeting and Welcome Back barbecue. And so that was nice to be able to spend time in community. And just want to say thanks to the staff that helps put those together and the parent committee. And just in general, I went as a parent to the Linus Pauling open house, and I also was able to chat with a few folk as well as a board member. So that was nice to be in community with everybody. And I was also at the resource fair, but as a volunteer with an organization I'm part of, and it was really great to see all of the families come in and be able to partner with the district in a different capacity. So I just wanted to add that as well for my report. So thank you. And I did not get to attend the Public School Foundation meeting this last month, but Therese went, right?
I did not.
You did not? Okay. I thought Therese went. So
I wanted to go.
okay. So we apologize that we were not there this time. But okay, so the next item on the agenda is Superintendent's report. So I'll pass it to Ryan.
Sounds good. Thank you. Well, for the first meeting of the year, we typically recognize our new administrators that are in our district this year. And so 4 of them are here in the audience tonight. So Kelly, would you mind standing up? So Kelly's serving as the principal at Mountain View. And prior to this, she has been at Mountain View for several years in leadership roles, and then has taught in a couple of schools in our district at Garfield and KJH. And this is her 16th year in education. So welcome to the team. Courtney Shreve, would you please stand up? So Courtney's our principal at Bridges, and last year she served there as well as a teacher and dean. And prior to that, she was doing life skills at Linus Pauling, and has been in education for 18 years and has really helped to create that culture at Bridges that is so positive that Chris was sharing about. So again, thanks for being here, Courtney. Megan Newell, right in front. She's our new special education coordinator, and Megan comes to us from Greater Albany Public Schools, where she's filled in a similar role. And before that, she was with South Lane School District, and prior to that, she was here with us as a speech-language pathologist. So full circle for Megan, and we're grateful that she's back with us, and this is her 20th year in public ed. And then finally, Autumn Benton. She's our district mental health manager, and she has served as a counselor at Oregon State University in the counseling services. She's worked at the Children's Farm Home and has just been a great asset to us as we've worked to support staff over the last couple of weeks. So again, Autumn, thank you for joining the team. A number of the topics I was going to cover, you've already covered, but I will still highlight some points. So the first is the health and resource fair that was put on. So we had this year 740 people that we served, which was 250 more people than we served the year before. We had over 300 kids that were connected with Operation School Bell, which provides them with clothing through the Assistance League. We had 67 dental screenings, 46 medical appointments. Some of those were for sports physicals and others were for vaccinations. 55 hearing screenings, 88 vision screenings, and also some pre-scheduled language testing, and also kids could register for school that day. So again, this is the 5th year that we've put on the fair, and it takes a lot of work and a lot of community involvement to make it happen. But I think at this point it's well established, and our community anticipates having that opportunity to go to LP and receive the services they need to kick off the school year. So again, Sarah and Kelly, thanks for all you did to make that happen, and also the foundations with financial support. The Welcome Back Rally, thanks again for talking about that. And again, thanks to the foundation for finding small business owners who wanted to do a donation to teachers' classrooms and supporting staff members to be able to have the resources they needed in the time they needed it. And so that was fantastic. We're well underway with our school year, so please drive slowly in our school zones. We had some really fun examples right out of the gate. A fourth grader showing up at 7 a.m. the first day of school and not wanting to go home and just sitting out front and reading till school opened for him. At the high schools with the new cell phone policy, we see kids playing cards with their peers, which is much better than screen time. And then at middle school, students engage in activities through Character Strong, where again, at the middle school, the startup is really about building community. And so just really fun things to see and observe as we start the school year. And then back to the cell phone expectations, I think that as a superintendent, I wasn't exactly sure how that would feel and how that would go. And what I can say is that I am really proud of our students and proud of our staff because it has gone really well. And it does create space for kids to be with one another, pay attention to one another, rather than looking down or focusing on their earbuds. It just feels good. So I just want you to know, if you haven't been able to be in our school since this started, it's really valuable. A CHS staff member stopped me when I pulled my cell phone out, and that was an important reminder for me as well, because I'm trying to model that expectation too. But as a whole, this year, while we have difficult things to talk about tonight, has started off really successfully, and I can only attribute that to our community, to our students, and to our staff for making that happen. So here we go. That's it.
Thanks, Ryan. The next item on the agenda is the OSBA and NSBA updates. And is Sammy still online? He's here? Okay. I don't have anything to report on it, and Sammy has the report on that, so we will just go ahead and skip that one then. Next item on the agenda is the consolidation proposal. And so I'm going to hand it over to Ryan.
Feels like a close-up. I think we'll start just with introductions because each member of the team here will share some of the information tonight in terms of the proposal, the consolidation proposal. Again, I'm Ryan Austin, the superintendent, and I'll share some of the rationale for the proposal and answer questions.
I'm Lauren Wolf. I am the Director of Finance, and I will share the finance side of the proposal.
I'm Byron Bethers, Director of Student Growth and Experience, and I'll talk about innovation and programming.
And I'm Kim Patton, and I'll share about the facilities and the Long Range Facilities Planning Committee.
So one of the things you'll notice tonight, which is different, is that oftentimes I will come and provide a presentation on a topic, and oftentimes that comes in a PowerPoint, and that's the first time you've seen the information. I decided to go with a different path for this process. And so, as you know, on Friday, I sent out the proposal to the community. The reason why I did that was because it allowed me to be at Sheldon Middle School and to have a conversation with the staff there before this information went public, and also an opportunity for us to talk about how to prepare students and staff for the upcoming Monday. And so rather than wait till tonight and present the information and try to figure out how to care for people tomorrow. We went with a more proactive plan around that, and that's why tonight a lot of the information will be similar to what you saw in the packet. However, that's because this is the actual presentation of the materials, and so it may feel a little bit redundant, but I think it's important to share it in its entirety, and that's why we're doing it this way.
So we're going to start off with the why. So this is a historical enrollment chart. So the line depicts our enrollment since 1959 when the school district incorporated through on the right down to 2025, where we can see we're back in that decline. Something that I want to point out is that in 1959, when we incorporated, we had 10 elementary schools, 1 middle school and 1 high school, about 4,500 students. And in 2025, we're getting down to that level again, or reaching and predicted to get close to that level. And right now we're operating 8 elementary schools, 2 middle schools, and 2 high schools. So in between, you can see through the rises in our enrollment, we've opened schools. Through the declines, we've closed schools. This is a cyclical thing that happens in school districts, and it's not the first time we've been through this. I presented this last month. This is a depiction of our long-range facility committee planning's work, long-range facility planning committee's work. In the first column, it shows that our facilities are in good to fair shape. We've set our building capacities and thought about district level programming and what we can expect by grade level. So at elementary, we can house 3,233 students, and that our enrollment projections for the 25-26 school year is 2,221 students, which would give us that 69% capacity. I will point out that those are still projections for 25-26 because we have not reached our 10-day drop. And Lauren would know more about that, but I want to point that out, that we are still using projected numbers because we don't have those hard numbers to update just yet. So the Long Range Facilities Planning Committee presented their conclusions at the board retreat. We presented those on August 13th. And I'm just putting these up here as a reminder that we have these conclusions from the committee, but the real highlight is that the enrollment decline over the next 10 years will result in significant underutilization of our facilities. But all of these conclusions have been kept in mind as we've worked through Ryan's proposal and considered all of the options.
So one of the things that I shared with staff during our Welcome Back rally, I did 3 sessions for people to come and ask questions and learn more about how I was going to bring a proposal forward. And one of the things that I thought was important is that I've thought a lot about this, and I thought it was important to highlight some of the considerations that I've taken under advisement as I've tried to come up with the best proposal I can. And so starting at the top, recognizing that we've established board goals. We've established those board goals through a lot of community engagement several years ago, and those have helped us to identify our targets for growth and improvement. And it's important to note that those are a key area of consideration in this plan. Some of the other areas that I think are important to think about are inclusion practices. How do we make sure that students have access? I've had to think about things like the potential loss of students. As you know, we are funded by the number of students that attend our schools. And so looking at a plan, I needed to also consider that factor. The feeder schools that we have, those patterns, recognizing that at this point where students start in elementary, where they go for middle and where they go for high school. So thinking about those patterns. Transportation, the transportation that we have currently, and in this plan, what transportation could look like was an important consideration. Programming, so when I think about programming, I'm thinking about oftentimes our specialists. So we've had conversations over the last several years about the arts and the programming that we're able to provide. Enrollment patterns, so where do we see increasing enrollment patterns, where do we see decreasing enrollment patterns, and how does that play into this? Academic opportunity, how do we take a change and build it into something where there's greater academic opportunity, and that's something that Byron's going to talk about. Also, school boundaries, understanding that right before the pandemic, we had lots of conversations about boundaries, and how do we make sure that that's a consideration right now. The potential loss of staff, which is a reality in consolidation and a difficult thing to talk through, but an important thing for us to recognize and consider in developing a plan. The conditions of our buildings. We have buildings that are almost brand new and others that have been with us for quite some time. And as we did the bond work, we were intentional about where that work happened. So having thought through that. Opportunities for innovation, again, thinking about if we're going to look at different grade level configurations, are there ways to be innovative? The impact on our students, how will a change in their school location impact them? Feedback, so feedback along the way. I'll show at the end a timeline with other opportunities for feedback. The financial aspect of this, finances are a key factor in any decision related to consolidation. Equity, how do we make sure that we're supporting students with the resources that we have? Again, the impact on staff. Location of new development, thinking about things like where is building and construction happening in our community, and then also grade configurations. Are there different grade configurations for consideration? And so those were some of the factors that went into coming up with the proposal that I'm bringing forward tonight. Again, this is an initial proposal, and you'll have lots of opportunity to hear from community before our October 30th and November 13th board meetings. But as of tonight, I feel like this is the proposal I'm bringing forward to you that you can then move forward with, modify, change, or discard. But this is the work that I've done in order to bring you a proposal to start from. So the proposal would be that Lincoln, Adams, Catherine Jones Harrison, Garfield, Letitia Carson, and Bessie Coleman elementary schools becomes K through 6th grade schools. Right now they are all K5s, and so they would grow to include 6th graders. Mountain View Elementary becomes a kindergarten through 8th grade school. That would allow us to have 2 8th grade schools in our community. Linus Pauling Middle School becomes a 7th and 8th grade school and is renamed Corvallis Junior High, allowing students to develop a new mascot and school culture. The closure of Sheldon Middle School. We would continue to keep those gyms open at Sheldon in order for community use. We know that we don't have enough gym space, generally speaking. And then the school board reviews the feasibility of 2 high schools during the 28-29 school year, or when enrollment falls below 2,025 students in grades 9 through 12. That is an important piece of this recommendation. We've heard lots of rumors about the closure of Crescent Valley for months and months, maybe years. And so I felt like it was important to put in a point of time where we would have that conversation. In no way is this implying that it would be the year that we would make a decision on a closure or a consolidation. This is just a point in time to say we need to come back to this conversation and continue to have it. The board also asked me to come up with a couple of other options, to inform my thinking. So the first option that I considered was the status quo option, meaning make no changes. We maintain the same number of schools, which would be a benefit. And so staff and students wouldn't be required to move to new buildings. That's the benefit. The negative is the long-term financial stability of that plan. And operating our schools as we do now with the numbers that we have, there's not any financial benefit to that. And that is one of the key pieces of this, is around a plan that addresses our financial challenges. And so based on that, this is not the option that I move forward in the proposal. The other option that I brought forward or considered to bring forward, which is not coming forward, is the closure of an elementary school. It has more savings than doing nothing or status quo, and it does maintain the feeder school model. for some of those buildings, but not all. The negatives, fewer savings than the proposal brought forward. The loss of neighborhood schools for an elementary school community. One of the things one of the other reasons I brought forward the proposal that I did was it maintains our elementary school hubs in our community. Higher likelihood of losing students with their elementary school closing. It would require a boundary adjustment process that would take additional time, and from my experience, it creates quite a bit of conflict in the community, which is concerning, and one of the reasons why you asked me to bring forward a single proposal. And also, innovation is still possible, but potentially limited because we're still within the same structure of K-5, 6, 8, 9, 12, just with one less elementary school. So again, the reason I didn't bring that forward is because of the limited cost savings, uncertain impact of boundary adjustments, and it could require another major change next school year because the savings just isn't there.
And I'll share a little bit of the financials related to the proposal that's before you. And so when running these scenarios or models, really we're looking at maintaining the current service level that we have in this current year. So same amount of specialist time, same positions within schools, all of that. So there's no structural changes here or changes in class size assumptions or anything of that nature. So everything stays status quo. The only difference in the models is where the students are and how they move throughout the system. So in the model before you, it reduces the staffing required by 11.28 full-time positions, or about a 2.8% reduction. It reduces the amount spent per student without changing the services that we're providing to the students. So that's a savings of about 3.4%. And it reduces the overall spending, obviously, when you reduce the per pupil amount. So this is not a full picture of all the services that the students receive in the district. It's just looking at those positions that are assigned to schools and are allocated that way. So when we look at this, it does still require reduction in staffing by using our ratios and our staffing allocations. But if we were to look at this same picture doing status quo, we would be reducing many more staff. And if you remember past the last few years, we have reduced a lot more than 11 full-time positions in a year. And then using this model, we are estimated in the next fiscal year to need to reduce about 3.87 million. I will say that number is still what I would call squishy. I'm not sure what the more professional word is, but I call it squishy because we don't have enrollment data for this year yet. We know how many kids are registered with us now, but like Kim mentioned, we have not hit that 10-day drop period. So how our student information system would work is they stay enrolled with us until another district picks them up, or they haven't been in attendance for 10 days. So we haven't hit that mark yet, and that information is our next jumping off point to update our projections in enrollment, which is important because enrollment means revenue. And then the next piece of that makes it squishy is that we don't have our tax statement for the tax year yet, and that also plays into our revenue. So you can't hang your hat on that number yet. We will be back with updated financial projections and the normal budget cycle process. But as we're looking at modeling, this is where we currently are. So the proposal before the board reflects a savings about 1.87 million. Which means there would need to be additional reductions made through the process, and we believe, I mean, there's all options on the table as we go through every budget cycle, and we also think that the work of the innovation team will help look at our priorities and the return on those dollars for students and help us decide where we go from here. So we just wanted, I think it's important to note that this consolidation savings does not mean that there won't be additional reductions. As we have been through the last several years, we're continuing to look at our finances, and the unfortunate fact still remains that expenditures related to mostly staffing and then just general inflation are going up much quicker than the state and federal government's investment in education, and that makes it extremely difficult to serve students in the way that I think we all believe that they should be served.
So there were a couple of areas that, having put out that proposal, questions that have come up that I think are things that we can either answer now or give a little bit of additional information to. The first one is that the proposed changes are for the 26-27 school year. So again, another reason why not to mention high schools beyond that date and time that we will come back to that conversation is because these are all changes for next school year that we're proposing right now. Also, it doesn't mean that in that 28-29 school year, we will be in the process of closing a high school. There are too many factors for consideration for projections that far out, and also recognizing that there will be potential changes in the board, changes in any of our positions, and so we're not going to make a decision. I would not propose making a decision for people who are not in this room at this point in time. Questions about Sheldon 7th and 8th graders. So again, the 8th graders would be heading off to high school. It should actually be more about the 6th and 7th graders. We're thinking about their transition to Corvallis Junior High. One of the questions that comes up about that I've heard is, if I'm in the Mountain View boundary, would I be required to go back to Mountain View for my 8th grade year, let's say? And I would say that's not my proposal. My proposal is that students could go to Corvallis Junior High with their peers at Sheldon. And then I'll talk a little bit more about Mountain View here in a second. Franklin, College Hill, and Bridges were not named in the recommendation, so there's no recommendation for changes there. That was implied but not outlined specifically, so I think that's an important clarification. For Mountain View to change to a K-8, I think that there are things we still need to know to be able to make that plan, and that would be after the board takes action in November, because there's a few ways that you could grow Mountain View to a K-8. You could make it a K-6 next year, a K-7 the year after that, a K-8 the year after that. That would be one option. Another option would be based on the interest in the K-8 model, which I have had some positive feedback to. You could go ahead and just open it K-8 next year. But we won't know that till this proposal is approved by the board, and we can reach out to families and get a better sense about the interest in that K-8 model. And then finally, staff considerations. We have been, as I said before, I wanted to be at Sheldon to talk to staff on Friday. Lots of questions have come up. I was back there on Tuesday. Again, thanks to the foundation, they provided a meal, and so I was able to answer questions. And the questions that staff have right now that are top of mind for them are, where will I be next year? And do I have the license to be able to make some choices? And do I have some choice in this matter? And so what we are currently working on is reviewing staff licenses, along with TSPC, our standards agency, and also talking with universities to be able to talk with staff by the end of October to say, this is what your current licensure allows you to do. If you're interested in being at a K-6 and you want to do 6th grade, these are the things you would need to do in order to be able to do that. So we're working to be able to have those conversations with staff. Every year we send out a document asking staff about preference for the upcoming school year. If they're interested in a new position or a new school, we'll continue to do that in this process. And then also being clear with folks that seniority is a significant factor in all of this. And so working with our associations will be an important piece as well. So those are some of the considerations thus far for staff and some of the conversations that we've had.
All right. So what do we want for the future of public ed in Corvallis to look like for our students? And so that's where the innovation team comes in. And so when changes happen sometimes, there's also possibilities and opportunities amidst those changes. And so in this moment, we're being strategic and intentional when there are changes that are coming up that we're expecting to happen, and how can we leverage that change to also think about how to improve and better our programming for students. And when I talk about programming, I talk about rigor in our classrooms, opportunities for students, relevant learning, how we engage students. If I think about our board goals, that's really where I go to of how can we make those come alive in our schools and in our classrooms. And so as we're anticipating this change coming up in our system, we have developed an innovation team to really think about envisioning the future of what programs could look like in our schools. And so a couple things that come up and that we've heard, I know that you've all heard and we've heard in our community over the last few years as we've had to make reductions, that's taken away pieces of programming that we believe are crucial and essential to students and teaching the whole child. And we've also, in this proposal and over the last week or so from there, heard questions about what do electives look like for sixth graders? What does it look like at a 6-8 or a K-8? And what does a 7-8 look like? What are the opportunities for students? And so this innovation team is going to take all of those types of questions to ponder and look at to see what is possible. What could this look like? And so the way I think about this is kind of putting those concerns that we've had about math, with the concerns we've had about music or library and wonderings we've had around our programs. And what if we have those back on the table with a group that can talk about how can this really look now in a model of whatever model we have approved? Like, what would that look like to enhance programming for students? What would our electives and our specials and our programs look like in a K-8 or a K-6 or a 7-8? What would that look like? So the innovation team is comprised of 32 individuals. About 75% of them are teachers. We have representatives, at least 2 people from every school in our district. We have classified members. We have a few administrators, 2 board members. And the group that was selected, we had an application process. We had a lot of applicants, and we selected 32 of people who have diverse lived experiences, diverse experiences in education across different specials. I see some folks back here, like from the music program, that are part of the team as well. And so those like diverse and intersecting experiences, we think will help us come together to like really think about programming in Corvallis and what it could be like. We've not really said who's on the team yet, but I sent out the first email with everyone's email on them, and I had several replies of like, oh my gosh, I want to watch this team in place because of the diverse mix of people and the diverse ideas and views that people are bringing. And so our work for innovation team starts next week, and it's just starting to talk about education and what our beliefs are as we start to get ready to really look at programming. And so again, the team is looking at trends in education right now. We'll work on opportunities to engage the community. We've been working on lining up. Ryan has been helping us line up different community partners that can come in and help shed some light on different topics for us. The foundation has also offered to help bring business partners in to talk about our community partners in our community and how they can help us with these ideas. Equity and inclusion are at the center of this, and how do we provide access and in our designs for all kids. And then of course, aligning this work to our board goals is at top priority for the group, for the innovation team.
One more thing about the innovation team is that that group will meet for 2 years. So while you'll be making a decision by the middle of November about what proposal you'll go with for consolidation. This group will continue to meet through the rest of the school year as those transitions happen, and through the following school year as well, to see those promising practices move forward. In terms of the timeline, I know that you've seen this before, but I think it's important to note that there are a number of opportunities for public input. One of the reasons why I think it was valuable to bring a single proposal forward is because people can look at that proposal and come up with other ideas or suggestions related to it in a way that's different than 3 proposals, and then you're trying to choose between A, B, and C. This, I think, can be more iterative that way. So again, we had today, September 11th, and we are presenting it to you today. Tomorrow, I have a superintendent's chat with staff. Superintendent's chats are something that I've done monthly as a way for staff to ask the questions that are top of mind for them. They looked different during COVID than they do during a traditional school year. And so one of the things I shared with staff is it's probably going to feel more like that, because there will be things that I don't have answers to and questions that I can't answer at this point in time, but also things I do know. And so the first one of those is tomorrow, and it will basically just be a chance for staff from across the district to ask me questions via Zoom. We have a listening session scheduled for next week. Spanish listening session as well, and then we're going to have more board meetings, another opportunity for a listening session before we get to the October 30th and November 13th board meetings. Those listening sessions, we will have table groups with the opportunity to have a leader lead that conversation, bringing forth ideas, as well as a presentation that gives the broad brush of this current proposal. So those, again, start next week. And again, we are looking we wanted to create opportunities for people to come together and work alongside us and share their ideas. So those are the opportunities forthcoming. So now I'm going to turn it back to you for questions that you may have that you would like us to answer.
So we have about 29 minutes for questions and answers. So I'm going to ask people to pick one question each, and then we can go back around. That way everybody has an opportunity to ask questions. So whoever wants to start. Judah, then Sammy.
Would it be possible with the Mountain View K-8 that we would have intra-district transfer policy for 7th and 8th, or for the 6, 7, 8, or 7th and 8th grade that is similar to our dual immersion schools, where they could consistently choose to go to Corvallis Junior High if they wanted to transfer out and be with a larger group of peers?
That is a possibility. Again, I would say that the plan for Mountain View is still the area of the proposal that has the most unanswered questions, and that's just because we aren't ready to go ask families about that, the 6th, 7th, and 8th. What we hear anecdotally is that there's families that are excited about it, but we also, until we get to November 13th and know that that's the plan, I feel nervous about asking people, would you be interested in that model? It doesn't mean I can't if the board directs us to start that process, but as of now, I've basically held a lot of things in abeyance until we get to November 13th.
So I want to go back to that, but I'll ask another umbrella question. You mentioned the alignment with the school board goals in the proposal itself and in the future as well as we explore the innovation team. I'm curious if you could walk us through each goal and perhaps give us highlights why the proposal advances or help us achieve the school board goals that we adopted for the next 5 years.
Do you want me to take that, or does anybody else want to add to it? Okay, so the first one, I would say that the academic continuity that happens with a K-6, Also, with a K-8, having 2 K-8s, there's benefit to that, and there's some research that shows academic improvement in a K-8 model. There is also the opportunity, as we think about equity, this proposal maintains each of our neighborhood schools for elementary, which is our neighborhood hubs, which are important pieces of what we do in support of communities. It also allows us to think about the way one of those tenets around inclusion is included in that goal area as well. We also know that when kids are with their, can be with their siblings potentially longer in a K-6 or a K-8, so that's can add to the nurturing environment. They can also be with teachers that they had in their early years through middle school or through 6th grade, and maintaining those relationships. Oftentimes, those relationships are really important for 6th graders to hold on to, or 7th and 8th graders, so there's benefit to that. The opportunity to think about things differently as K-6s, 7-8s, and K-8s allows us to be focusing on innovation and creativity in a way that maintaining the status quo doesn't necessarily do for us. There's a lot of examples of ways along in each one of those goal areas that this proposal works to address.
Thank you.
Other questions? Go ahead, Brittany.
Yeah, it's for Lauren. Quick question. How are the savings derived? I mean, I see reduction in FTE. I see getting more efficiency out of it, but what about the cost of maintaining an MT facility, and are we getting revenue and so on to compensate for that?
There's no assumptions around revenue for a closed facility, because that would, once we have a decision, that would need to go back to that long range facilities planning committee to decide what we would actually do with that. So there's no revenue assumptions in these calculations. We're really just looking at the change in where students go to school and what that looks like in staffing. So just as a reminder for everyone, our staffing makes up close to 80% of our total budget. And so really when you're looking at a financial model, you're looking at staffing. So that's the main piece of this. The secondary piece of it is our different, we do have utilities in there. Utilities are interesting. I did some research on this, and I could have probably read different things for a whole day if I let myself, but really what it came down to is there's no exact model for utility savings, and what made most sense to me as I was reading through all the different opinions was looking at things like our electricity and our fuel for heating, depending on the building type. And those, we would still need to maintain electricity, obviously, in a building, and heating to maintain the building itself and make sure we didn't have leaks and different things like that. So we assumed a 20% savings on electricity, which felt really conservative, and it could be more than that. And then the main savings on utility are really from the water and garbage. So all combined, it's about a 40% savings on the utility cost. So it's not a huge number. It's about half of the cost of a teacher for Sheldon specifically on those savings. We also currently have to rent a piece of property for storage. So there's a savings in that lease agreement. We would no longer have that lease agreement because we would use our own property potentially for storage. So there's savings there. And then we also look at district level programming and the ability to serve students in the same way, but just as we are with having more students in a school, we can be efficient in our staffing that comes from the district level as well. And so there are some assumed savings related to that. So, and I would say, like, these are all based on our formulas now, and we do tweak those every year, just depending on, like, if we have a new idea we want to try or something like that. So depending on what comes out of innovation team, like, that could look different, and these are our models based on what we're currently doing, and making sure that we, as we do the modeling, you're only changing like that one control, so you keep everything else, the same, so that you're able to really assess what the one change, which is where our kids would attend, what that would impact. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, mostly. And we'll talk more about
Yes.
this too.
Yeah.
Teresa's your hand up?
Okay, so one question. All right. So my question is about the capacity for the K6s, and then for Mountain View that would become a K8 is generally just, do you have or can you provide a breakdown of what you think would happen in each of those schools if they absorb their 6th graders, or at Mountain View if they absorb 7th and 8th?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have confirmation that there's space at Mountain View to absorb 7th and 8th grade as well as 6th? They'd be absorbing 3 grades. So how certain are you that there is space to do that? And what do the enrollment numbers then kind of look like across those different schools? And I don't know if you have that tonight, but that would be something I would want to see. And then with growth in the Mountain View area, if we put 3 grades out there and then Adair grows, are we just going to reach a point where then Mountain View can't hold everybody that's in its boundary? I snuck in a second question there. But.
Yeah. Kim, do you want me to answer that, or you? Either way. Okay. So yes, we have looked at obviously the building capacity numbers on the chart that Kim presented towards the beginning. It looks at our different assumed utilization rates for those buildings. And yes, you had a lot of questions in the one question, but the sub question, yes, based on our current modeling, there would still be an additional 163 spaces for students at Mountain View in the K6 model. And so then if we expand that to the 7th, 8th, assuming about, maybe 30 kids per class in the middle school, yes, there's space to do that and to grow that through, even if there's more development in that area. So we have space. All of our schools, we still, the most we're going to utilize at elementary, we're setting our target at 90%, and all of our schools are below that. The closest school will only be under by 50 students, but most of them still have space for 100 plus students. So there's room within the model to handle fluctuation changes in enrollment. Did that answer?
Yeah, it answered all my secret extra questions too, so
Okay.
good job.
Yes.
And Therese, this is where I would remind you that new development doesn't always equate new students.
Right. Yeah. And I would say too, this really plays into the enrollment numbers because we haven't put out the projections for those yet and won't until after October 1st. So this is using enrollment numbers based on what we were projecting for this current year. Once those get solidified, then all of these numbers get updated as well. But even within that, the model still works.
Thank you.
So first, before I pull a Therese and sneak one and tag on hers and then ask my question, just wanted to say thank you for all the thoughtfulness and care that's going into this. It's hard to talk about consolidation at all, knowing that what we're talking about is potentially closing one or more school communities. And we're hearing that from staff, from families as well. And it's a school that my family has been through as well. So I know just deeply and hold a lot of care for the people there who are holding that too. So I'm going to do a little bit of a sneaky thing in thinking about that. With Teresa's question about numbers and percentages, a question that's already coming in from community is around overcrowding or worry about that at Linus Pauling. I recognize there wouldn't be 6th graders there. Do you have those same projections just with what it would look like to consolidate all the 7th and 8th graders aside from Franklin, and then aside from potentially Franklin and Mountain View if Mountain View was K8 versus K6?
Yeah, in the model with the 7th and 8th graders, and in our model, we modeled the financials as, I modeled the financials over Mountain View as a K6 in this model because we aren't sure like how that plan would work at Mountain View, if it would be the step-up plan or not. So we needed to make sure in 26, 27 that all 7th and 8th graders in the district could fit in Linus Pauling. So even with all 7th and 8th graders in Linus Pauling, the space available using our utilization numbers is 128 like for 128 more students to join Linus Pauling.
Do you have to know the percentage utilizations just so we
That
can
would
kind
be
of
at
compare?
85% utilization.
Okay.
And it gets the utilization numbers, and this is where I kick it back to Kim, but it gets trickier at the schools where there's like sections of courses and students move around. So we don't want as high of a utilization in a middle and high school building as we do in elementary, where we call those self-contained classrooms. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Should I save my other question for the next round? Okay.
I too thank you for a very well thought out plan. As a person who worked in a school that was part of a consolidation years ago, it was really difficult at the elementary level for many of the reasons you stated and then some. So I appreciate this. My question is for the staff at Sheldon, knowing the big concerns that they have. Will we be able to do any kind of emergency licensing like we've done in the past, like during COVID and stuff? And will we, second question, will we give priority to the Sheldon staff for moving in within the district?
So we will work with staff to help to support them to get the licensure they need. And in terms of the prioritization, that's a question I'll have to come back to you because I don't have the contract in front of me to be able to say that. But I know that we're going to try our best to allow folks to be in the spaces they want to be in.
Great, thank you. And just going back to what Judah was asking about, because I think that's been the biggest concern that I keep hearing. So could we, and I'm sorry, this is like a second question, but really it's part of Judah's question. Can we at least start talking about allowing, like for open and, open enrollment?
Mm-hmm.
Can we start having that conversation? Because I just think that will really relieve a lot of stress.
Yeah. So can I say, let's go back to your third of four questions, Chris Hawkins. The piece that you shared about the Sheldon staff, I'm also thinking about the Linus Pauling staff. And so I think that there are staff that will be impacted across the district in this consolidation. We know that happens oftentimes because of seniority, so that will impact staff at CEHS and CV. And so there are staff across the district that this any consolidation proposal will impact.
Yeah.
And then what was your other? Oh, your fourth question was about. I'm teasing you. It was about the ability to do transfers, and open enrollment. Again, we're going to look to first. We need to look to see what sort of interest there is in that, because ideally we would open it 6th, 7th, and 8th grade next year. I tend to think K-8s are a pretty powerful model, and if we have enough families that are interested in it, then we're going to work to do that. But we just don't know the answer to that yet.
Thank you.
I had, so my first question, which is one question, is about staffing too, because there's another $2 million that we're short, even with consolidation. And with your comment about that being staffing, I'm wondering what, my question is more around what care is being provided for staff across the district, knowing that how that works with seniority and everything, and thinking about the other middle school being impacted and the high schools being impacted and elementaries across the district, especially because the 6th grade teachers would obviously go to across the elementaries. And then, so I had a question about care for staff really in this process, and thinking about where, and my double question, I have a double question. Is that where that other 2 million, is that what we're going to have to keep in mind? Is that going to look like staffing in addition to that 11 that you mentioned? So that was for both of you, one care for staff, one for monies.
So my focus is since Friday has been on the care for the Sheldon staff. This afternoon I spent time at Linus Pauling at the end of the day, and worked with Greg to go and do a staff meeting with them to answer questions as well. So we have that on the calendar. That's why I'm doing a soups chat tomorrow. Initially, it was scheduled thinking that tonight would be the night that the proposal was shared with the community. Having modified that, I still kept that date. So again, trying to provide staff with the information I can as quickly as I can. I think that's what we're trying to do. On Monday at Sheldon, we set up a care room. So if staff needed to take a break, they could. We had roving subs, so we had 2 licensed and 2 classified to cover for people if they needed a break. So we are trying to be really intentional about the support we provide. When I introduced Autumn, I recognized the fact that she's been really supporting staff this like right out of the gate, and that has so much to do with the fact that we recognize that this is a difficult thing for staff to do or to go through. I also realized this was like the first week of school, and that wasn't done lightly. By going and sharing that with them, but it's also because we need to have a decision by November so we can start to do all the logistics. So that's why I did it as early as I did it, because we need staff to be able to know as much as they can now, and then when we know more, we can share more. And so then to the second question, one of the things that we identified in the proposal was that status quo still, even with the status quo proposal, we will have less staff next year. And the reason why we know that to be true is because we know that our 9th grade will become 10th grade and our 8th graders will become 9th graders, and that 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th are the last 4 large classes. So we know that there will be some reductions that have to be made regardless. And at the same time, we're going to continue to do our best to make reductions in departments and other areas as well in order to limit the impact on our schools. I would say that the fact that we are going through a consolidation process, the impact on license is primarily because we'll have fewer kids. The impact on our non-rep and our classified is because we're going through a consolidation process. So all 3 of our groups are going to be impacted. One because of the limited number of students that we have, or the change in the number of students we have, and the other 2 groups is because of consolidation.
Thank you. And we only have 9.5 minutes left for questions. So if you have another question, that's not a complex multi-part question, please. Okay, go ahead, Sammy, and then Judah.
Can I make it multi-parts? If it is, can I request data for later?
Yes.
Awesome. So can I request the following data? And they're just A, B, and C. And I think C, maybe you can speak to it right away. So A is what my colleagues spoke about, the utilization percentages. My request is if you can list again the status quo, where we are right now in the utilization, which we have. And also, what is the ideal, or no more than a certain percentage for elementary, for middle and high, and then the forecast for the utilization for the elementaries, the junior high, if the proposal pass, and then for the K-8s. And since this is an academic town, I'm going to ask for plus or minus percentage that you anticipate with a confidence. I know we're not confident 100%. So what is our confidence that we will be within a certain range if there's an influx of housing, or if there is a surprise kindergarten registrations? We know that could happen. We got surprised in 2019. So I want to make sure that at least we capture as much as possible of those variables. So that's my request of a table and maybe a narrative for utilization forecasts. That's part A. Part B is a request for, yeah. Oh no, that's just part A. That's,
oh my gosh.
Yes. The utilization percentage. It's just table. I'm requesting a table.
Big A and little A.
You might need to email this to them too, Sammy.
I'm happy to email that.
Yeah, that might be a little bit easier.
So because this is will take up some staff time, I want to make sure that with the chair, this is, an appropriate ask too.
Yes, absolutely. And I can pause and see if the chair and the rest of the board think that's something we should pursue.
I think I need to see. I can't I have to see it. Yeah, but it sounds like a lot of information. So if it's going to help us make a really solid decision, then I think it's worth the staff time. If it's just double checking for extra information, I would say maybe consider that.
I believe it is important, but again, I want to defer that the general body will decide. And the reason I think it's important is we have heard from community members about, oh, this school could be overwhelmed with utilization or not. So having all that data in front of us really would help us navigate it. But again, I'll defer to the full board.
I think that what would be helpful is if you could write those questions down and share them, so that it's very hard to follow. I think the intersections of the different pieces that you're asking, because I think I hear a lot of redundancy in that of information they have provided, but not information that they have compiled into one spot. And so I'm not sure if you're asking them to put all the different pieces in one place or actually get information that they haven't given us yet. And so I think seeing it written out would help to clarify that.
Happy to do that.
Good.
Part B? Or shall I just send out
I would
everything
send it
later?
out, yeah. Because that way it's super clear what's being asked for everyone.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Sammy.
Because B and C are also data requests.
B is a data request. C is not a data request.
Okay, what is C?
C, Ryan, you have spoken, and I have too, with other superintendents and leaders across the states and nation where there is consolidation. What have you learned when they have experienced it, or if they are experiencing it? What lessons learned that might be relevant to us, and what might be something unique to us we need to pay extra attention to?
I think that we are one of the first of many districts in Oregon and across the country that are in the process of consolidation. What I've learned from colleagues, some of those things have been really helpful to me. As an example, the plan to be with staff and set up a care room and support was something that the other superintendent colleague shared with me, which helped me to be thinking about that. I know that at Crater Lake Elementary and Bethel, they had an end-of-year celebration and sort of a closure of that school, which was an opportunity for everyone to come and celebrate together the history of the building. So there are lots of things I've learned. I've learned that this process needs to be short so that we can move on together. I've learned that the students are resilient and move on quite much sooner than adults do. And it matters how the adults show up in the space, and that impacts how students are able to be prepared for the next thing. If it feels like it's a loss, then kids will see it as that. But generally speaking, they will move past that sooner than the adults. Those are just some of the pieces that I've learned as I've listened to folks who've gone through this process. And again, I want to reiterate that we are early and there will be many districts that are going to be looking to you all and to us as models of how to do this, because they're going to be going through the same sorts of community pain.
Thank you.
I have such a treat for you. This is one question with information you've just told me you already have. If you'd said that you had calculated an estimate for each elementary school's utilization rate and what Linus Pauling would look like, even assuming that Mountain View is a K6, could you potentially just write it like a simple chart, and I could have it in a chart?
I can. What we looked at is actually at our assumed utilization of 90%, how many spaces would be left for students to be in the building. We have this information and proposal. I would like to update it when we have the enrollment data after the 10-day drop to look at what our actual enrollment looks like, because this is a model using a touch point of October 2024. So I would like to have it updated. That's why it's not in the presentation yet, because we haven't hit our date where we report on enrollment. But yes, we kind of looked at it in a different way, but I think would get at the same ask, and it sounds like maybe that's also part of Sammy's ask as well.
Gotcha.
I want to make one clarification for the group, because when we presented our building capacity numbers, we used a utilization factor, which already put us at 90% when we built our building capacity number. And so I'm hearing utilization, and I'm wondering about what we projected in our building capacity as utilization and what the actual utilization is. And so I just want to make sure that we're all understanding that correctly.
What I am wanting to show the community is that our elementary schools and then the proposed junior high, that for the rooms that we want to have free for that age group are free, even if we're accounting for the additional students. So we're not feeling like we're just jamming those schools full of kids.
Okay, I have a quick, maybe a hypothetical, and then a request. As much as I wish we didn't have to talk about consolidating at all, in seeing the numbers that this would be potentially 1.8 million out of 4 million, and being very excited about the work, Byron, that you'll be leading with the innovation team, really thinking about what does the community want in education, what could this look like with these new models, this worry of there's a certain amount that will come from consolidation, and then there likely is going to be another round of cuts that would come heavily probably from staffing, which is the biggest expense in a school district. So the question of is a plan like this enough to be able to really preserve a solid and strong education in what the community is asking for? So just that's a hypothetical for us to be considering. And then my request is around, before we wrap up or go to close this so we can hear from the community tonight too, communication plan. There's all these great listening sessions planned. What will the communication flow be from listening sessions that folks are attending to bringing that information back to the board, who are ultimately tasked with making this decision, to all of the information that's coming in from the community that different board members are hearing, making sure the community can hear one another's questions as well as the responses from the district. Is there a plan, something like, I know, Lauren, you put so much work last year or earlier this year into the budget website where there were Q&As that were continually being updated. I know what a huge ask that is, but I'm just curious what the plan is for that communication, both to the board and the flow with the community.
Okay, I'll take part one. I do want to remind everyone that when we were February of earlier this year, so February 2025, when we were looking at school year 26-27, we were looking at reductions of almost $12 million. And now we're looking at that number, and we are under $4 million. That changes our trajectory. We are constantly doing things that changes our financial outlook. And so I just want to bring us back into that perspective, because these changes are going to help us down the road. We cannot, we can project enrollment, but we don't know exactly what's going to happen with other factors around our community. And so we do feel like this plan puts us in a position to be able to move forward and manage our financials. Not to say that we're not still battling issues with funding at the federal and state level. All of those things still apply, but within the factors that we can control, we would not be bringing this plan forward if we didn't think that it was attainable for the district. And I would say, as far as the programming goes, and maybe Byron has additional things to add to this, is yes, there may be reductions, but there's also probably better ways to do some of the things that we're currently doing. And how do we get an even higher, I call it return on investment because that's my financial word, but our students, that is our investment. And how do we provide a better experience for them, better opportunities, and meet all of those board goals in different ways that maybe don't cost the same amount of money. So we have to be willing to look at things differently in order to have different results. Yeah. Do you want to?
If you want to answer the
The communication plan.
Yeah, so we are working on a frequently asked questions document right now that we've used before. We're also looking at the document that we call a stoplight report, red, yellow, and green, with the ideas that came forward around budget season. we're planning to incorporate both of those as ways that we are providing feedback to the community. And then in the listening sessions, we have some questions that we're going to ask table groups to spend some time with and report out on. So there will be other points in time where we're getting additional information. We need to figure out how we're going to report that back out at the end of those listening sessions. But that is, for now, those other two pieces we're currently working on.
Teresa, you had your hand up. Did you have a quick one?
I do. I want to know if anywhere in this proposal will we be able to eliminate the split grade classes that are so challenging in so many ways?
I think we won't be able to completely get away from blends in our schools, but what this allows us to do is a couple things. One, it allows us to save some funds. Oftentimes what we find is we need to deploy staff. We typically hold on to 2 licensed and 2 classified that we send to schools right before sort of as we see bubbles to try to eliminate those. And also by having K-6s, you'll have more staff in those buildings, which creates greater flexibility for principals who are building master schedules. So there are a couple of ways that it helps us to address our blended classrooms. And again, that it won't eliminate them, but it does provide principals with a little bit more flexibility to address that.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
So many questions, but you guys have really provided a lot of information for the round that we brought you, so thank you.
I appreciate that too. I think my last question was around long-term stability with this model, because that question has come up a lot too. Is this like not necessarily just enough for the financial part, but in a longer term with the elementary levels, especially because I really appreciate keeping those community hubs in place because I think those are really important. And we don't have a crystal ball is basically what I have thought with the birth rates and everything like that. So that's, I think, a tough question for anybody to answer because we only can see a few years out based on birth rates. And so that was more of a, not for you to have to answer, but more of like that's come up and
I'd like
I'm sure.
to go.
Oh, you want to answer?
Yeah,
okay, go
ahead. So I think this plan, this proposal has two main objectives. One is to reduce costs, and 2 is to maintain neighborhood elementary schools. And so I think that's an important piece for us to think about. We know that the numbers in those schools will still not be at capacity, and at the same time, there's a value in having a neighborhood elementary school that I think would be lost in a different proposal. So I think it's an important question to ask.
Okay, thank you for answering it. Yeah. Okay, that is Bernie, did you have a last question? Because you were the only one. Did you go to? Did you have another one?
Yeah, it's asked and answered.
It's been asked and answered. Okay. You sure, Chris? Okay. Just want to make sure because everybody had a couple, and we're only a few minutes over, and we were under another area, so that's okay. That's why I was like, it's fine. Thank you all so much for your presentation. I know that was a lot of work that went into the proposal. I appreciate that as you all are transitioning out of your seats. I'm just gonna keep talking for a second. I appreciate that that it is a single proposal for the community to consider, and I just wanted to remind folk that that is not the final decided for sure thing. It is a proposal, and there may be things that we need to tweak. We don't know until we have more conversations, and I really encourage folk to go to spread the word about the community engagement opportunities that are out there, whether you're in the room or listening online, and to remember that your voices are important. We're not going to get every single thing that everybody wants, and anything that happens with a change like this, as it's really hard for communities. And so that was all. And the next item on the agenda is the public comment period. Oh yeah, that's true. It's not scheduled to start till 8:10, so we can take a quick break before public comment for like 5 minutes.
That'd be great.
just use the restroom. 5-minute break. Okay, thanks everyone for a short break. We're gonna go ahead and get started again. Thank you. So we're gonna go ahead and get started again, and the next before we get started, I know folk had questions that didn't get answered, so don't forget you can email those to Ryan if we didn't get to all of them. Right? Yeah. And the next item on the agenda is public comment, and we'll now open the public comment period regarding. Oh, hold on one second. Yeah, it's okay. We'll be opening the public comment period. We value the lived experiences of students, families, staff, and the community, and welcome public comment as an essential part of the district and board work. The complete guidelines for public comment are available at the registration table outside the boardroom entrance and on the board's website. I will now share some important points. When it is your turn to speak, please come forward, take a seat, and direct your comments to the board. Speakers may offer objective criticism of district operations and programs, but the board will not hear complaints concerning individual district personnel. As a reminder, you will have 3 minutes to make your comments. When you have 30 seconds left, I will try to alert you that the light is yellow. When it's green, that's the start of your time. Yellow is 30 seconds left. When your time is up, it turns red, and I will need to let you know your time is up. Following your comments, the board will have 3 minutes to ask clarifying questions, but are not able to engage in conversation. So as a reminder, we can't have a back and forth dialogue at this time, which is hard sometimes, or most of the time, I should say. If board members would like to revisit a topic or issue brought up during public comment, they may do so at the appropriate time in the agenda. Before you start your comments, please state your name for the record and state whether you reside within the school district boundary. And before we do comments, I just wanted to remind everybody that this is not your only opportunity to provide feedback to the board, especially if you're here to comment on the consolidation proposal. And just a reminder of all those opportunities in future meetings, as well as the community sessions that I really encourage you all to participate in. So again, please, when you come up here, state your name for the record and whether you reside within the school boundary.
Amanda Portis.
Oh, and you can turn this on when there's a red light, your mic's on.
Amanda Cordes. I reside within the Corvallis School District boundary. I'm coming to ask the board to address 2 items, both related to elementary capacity, one narrow in focus and one overarching. The first is regarding the capacity calculations, and if that 90% is based on classroom seats, how does that work for spaces that the entire student body needs to move through in a single day, specifically the cafeteria? And for those schools reaching that 90% capacity utilization, can we ensure that all students have appropriate time and sufficient time to meet their needs at lunch, and then also start lunch or end lunch at a reasonable time of day? And kind of related to that, bigger picture, I would like to ask the board to address the 6th recommendation of the Long Range Planning Committee, which was that the district should review intra-district boundaries to support enrollment trends and ensure that resources are distributed equitably. I appreciate this suggestion. I am strongly in favor of it. However, the consolidation plan as it is currently written lists not requiring boundary adjustments as a pro. If we truly want to be equitable, we do not get to skip doing the equitable thing just because it is harder or it would take more work. Equity is measured in the impact. And right now, as Therese mentioned, we have those blended classrooms. We have other classrooms with 30+ students. We have schools where enrollment is increasing or holding steady, others where it is declining, and others where it's declining rapidly. Adding a 6th grade cohort might temporarily shore up numbers for 1 year, but it does nothing to address those underlying enrollment trends or the current distribution of resources. We owe it to our students to provide them with the most equitable, stable configuration possible at the end of this process, and therefore we must review the intra-district boundaries. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions? Okay, thank you, Amanda. Oh, yeah. Thank you for emailing it. For folk didn't hear, Judah was asking for the, yeah, thank you. You have to turn the mic on.
Hello. I'm Amanda McBride, and I do reside in the Corvallis School District boundaries. I had 3 things that I wanted to bring as questions and ponderings for consideration for the innovation team. I am a parent of 2 Garfield geckos, and I am a proud alumni staff of Linus Pauling Middle School. And some things that are really near to my heart are electives. As the past STEM teacher and curriculum builder, I cherish the 6th graders that get to come in from elementary schools and have a lot of elective offerings. So keeping 6th graders at elementary, knowing that current specials are 2 PE, 1 art, 1 music, 1 library, is pretty limited. I feel the heartbreak from my own children, and thinking of 6th grade students who could have the elective of, or the openings of electives in middle school, and losing that and staying at K6. So figuring out that sort of thing. Space at schools. I've been at Linus Pauling during the rise and the fall of many bubbles, and looking at the buzzword utilization, being in a class of 30 plus humans, it might fit. There might be 32 seats in a classroom, but the actual service that those students are getting in that class could greatly vary. And with the decrease in staff, losing staff support, and those services that we offer students, you want more than 1 adult in the room if you can. And so thinking about looking at class sizes and filling schools evenly. And then my last thing, I feel confident in asking this question now that I'm not a staff member anymore, but at Franklin School, I have a lot of questions about Franklin School as a K-8, especially with Mountain View being moved into a K-8 model, like proposed K-8 model. Franklin is also a K-8 model, but it feels very different than any other school that we have in our district. And it is a really wonderfully located neighborhood-esque school, centrally located between the Garfield and Adams boundaries. And I'm just questioning, I know it wasn't mentioned in the consolidation as well as College Hill and Bridges, but because we're looking at adding numbers to existing schools, thinking about what that population looks like, and just wondering what the role of Franklin is now and in the future as a K-8 model. And I see my yellow light, so that's all I have.
Thank you. Does anybody have questions? Okay. Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Travis Overvig. I'm a parent at Mountain View Elementary, and I reside in the Corvallis School District. What frustrates me most is the way this whole process is being handled. We've been given just one recommended plan, not real options to compare, and now the board is expected to make a final decision by November 13th. That's barely 2 months from the time parents even got to weigh in. It feels rushed, like something is being pushed through quickly just to get it over with, not like genuine community input is wanted. And then there's the question of why Mountain View. We are one of the smallest schools in the district. We don't have a proper gym or track, science labs or lockers. Even our bathrooms and classrooms are built for little kids. No, not adolescents going through puberty. Yet this plan would turn Mountain View into a K-8 while closing Sheldon, a building that already has age-appropriate facilities for middle schoolers. If the district is determined to force a K-8 model, why not use Sheldon instead of asking the smallest, least equipped elementary to carry this burden? This isn't just about Mountain View kids either. Adair Village students would also be locked into this plan. That doubles the number of rural students who will be denied the same electives, sports, and extracurricular opportunities their peers will get at Corvallis Junior High. The result is two different school systems of education inside of one district. One rich in opportunity, the other stripped down to the bare minimum. Let's call this what it is, a rural disadvantage. And I don't understand why other models haven't even been considered. Across the country, many districts with declining enrollment, just like Corvallis, have shifted to K-6 elementaries and 7-12 secondary schools. That model saves money, keeps things consistent, and gives younger kids earlier access to electives and athletics that we all want. Lincoln County, right next door, already uses this approach in most of their communities. Why hasn't Corvallis put something like that on the table even to look at? I want to be clear, I am not in favor of a K-8 plan that applies only to one school. If it's so wonderful, why aren't they all going that model? That's unequal, it's unfair, and it divides the district. To pick the smallest, least equipped building, ignore better alternatives like a 7-12 model or repurposing Sheldon, and then rush the process through, it feels like adding insult to injury. This plan is being sold as equity, but where is the equity in forcing one community into something completely different and giving families barely any time to respond? Mountain View and Adair Village kids matter just as much as every other student in Corvallis. Please slow this process down, bring real options to the table, and stop asking one school to carry the weight for the entire school district. Now, to add just a little bit to that, I have a few seconds left. We all know that there's not equality in this model. A junior high in Corvallis is going to have a lot more opportunities, a lot more peers of similar age than Mountain View can ever give to their middle school age students. I think what you're saying, the question you had earlier was 30 and 30 or roughly for 7th and 8th grade. That likely is going to lead to maybe blended classrooms, all that kind of stuff. This is a bad proposal. Thank you.
Any questions? Oh, you gotta wait for questions. Okay, we have a couple questions. Go ahead, Sammy, then Judah.
Thank you, Chair. Ms. Alfred, I thank you for taking the time, really sharing your thoughts. And I want to ask you just if I understood what you're hoping for. You're asking that the board considers K-6 and 7-12 system instead of what we have or what's being proposed. And if that's not achievable, you're proposing that Sheldon is considered for the K-8 in your neighborhood instead of Mountain View because it might be more equipped, or you see it is more equipped for the K-8. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct in regards to giving us another plan. I believe, so the proposal was $4 million in a deficit. This is truly a half measure. If you're looking to save $2 million, you're already going to need to save more additional money down the road. Why not do a full measure, close both middle schools, keep the elementary school hubs, and go through a 7-12 model at the high schools? You have two high schools, that makes much more sense. All kids are then consistently with their same peers. That model makes sense to me.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I have a question about it feeling inequitable with for the 7th and 8th graders. If it was more of the open what did you call it? Open enrollment to have that choice, would that feel more equitable for the 7th and 8th graders?
Great question, actually. So my big question with that, open enrollment is amazing. What about transportation? Mm-hmm. Is transportation going to be provided to families that are outside of Corvallis city limits, like my wife and I are with our children? Is that going to be provided to Adair Village students? I think transportation is off the top of my mind and my wife's mind. Another is, I hate to say this, but separate is never equal. I'm sorry, you're going to have two completely different models. You're going to have a junior high school with the vast majority of 7th and 8th graders, and then a Mountain View with very, very limited numbers, and that's going to lead to limited opportunities. It's never going to be equal.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Any other questions? See, I almost start getting into discussion. It's hard. I know. feel free to email me if you want. But, all right. Thank you so much, Travis.
Hi, my name is Alan Overvig, and I am an 8th grader at Sutherland Middle School. Middle school has been really important for me. Sutherland has spaces for students, gyms, a track, lockers, and elective classrooms, things that just don't exist at Mountain View Elementary. Those spaces make school feel bigger and more like a step toward high school. I've also had more independence here than I did in elementary school. Moving between classes, trying different electives, and being a part of a team sport has helped me grow and feel more prepared for the next step. But with this new plan, my brother and sisters at Mountain View Elementary won't get any of that. They'll stay in an elementary building through 8th grade without the same opportunities or preparation for high school. That doesn't feel fair. Please don't take those experiences away from them. Thank you for listening.
Does anybody have any questions? I have a similar question, is if they're able to have that choice of going to, if there's a junior high, do you think that would help with your concerns a little bit?
Maybe just a little bit, yeah, probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Alan.
Is it on? Okay, good. All right. So I'm Crystal Overvig within the Corvallis School District. My 3 youngest children go to Mountain View. And I feel this plan is really unfair. 6 elementary schools will become K through 6, which I don't disagree. I went through K through 6 school in Medford. But to have Mountain View as K through 8, I feel is unequitable. For my 3 younger kids and every other kid at Mountain View, I feel like they would not get that middle school experience, which also is something I truly valued that prepared me for my years in high school. Middle school at this point would not just be 2 extra grades. It's where kids branch out, try electives like band or art, join sports teams, and make friends outside of their little elementary bubble. It's where they start figuring out who they are before stepping into high school. I've seen this firsthand with my oldest, Alan, who's an 8th grader now, and middle school has been huge for him. He's grown so much because of the opportunities he's had. He's in electives that he enjoys right now, especially Spanish class. He's playing sports, he's meeting new friends, and I can see how much more prepared he is for high school because of those opportunities. It breaks my heart to think that my younger 3 won't get these same chances if this proposal goes through. They'll just stay in the elementary building while their classmates across the city are moving on, getting those middle school experiences, and for what reason? To save money? That's what this feels like. Mountain View families are being asked to carry the weight of the district's financial problems. We're being told it's about equity, but how is it equity to take opportunities away from one group of kids while everyone else keeps them? Our kids matter just as much as every other kid in Corvallis. They deserve the same pathway, the same chances, the same preparation for high school. Please don't make Mountain View the sacrifice school. Thank you.
Questions? Go ahead, Judah.
Only feel comfortable, but hypothetically, if you were to be able to, like, say, drop your kids off at a transportation hub at Mountain View and they were taken to Corvallis Junior High, would that be something that would work for your family?
My kids currently all take the bus. So if them still taking the bus would be an option, then absolutely.
Okay.
But yeah.
Any other questions? I had the similar question, since it's a similar concern, is if there was that choice to be able to go to the junior high that was proposed, coupled with Judah's suggestion of transportation, would that feel more equitable for that experience that you're describing?
I mean, it is a better option, but still, I'm more in favor of, like my husband mentioned, the K6/7 through 12 model. My sister-in-law teaches in that model in Walport, and I think that's a better option, so everybody's on the same pathways.
Thank you, Crystal. We're going to take the online community member, Shun, now. Shun, can you hear us? Can you try to unmute Shun? Okay, we'll come back to you, Shun. Once, can you please check on them, Kim? Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening to you all, and thank you for hearing us. My name is Charles Fine. My family and I reside within the Corvallis School District boundaries. My daughter attends Cheltenham Middle School. And last year when we were deciding whether or not she should go to public school or private school, we looked at how the schools performed. Cheltenham outperforms Linus Pauling by no small measure. And yet, we're proposing to close Cheltenham and keep Linus Pauling. In truth, it doesn't matter where she goes so much as the quality of the education she receives. Now, I understand we're consolidating some of the staff. And if some of the excellence from Cheltenham could be exported or transferred to Linus Pauling, that would be good. I'm concerned about that, though, because of two things. One, I know that the contract is with the union is centered on seniority. That said, I know you have the capacity to figure out what positions stay open and which ones are closed. And thereby, you can adjust for the better performers, at least somewhat. But there's also another issue. You see, about a year or two ago, Bessie Coleman underwent a reduction in force. And what happened was the people who came in direct contact with the students, their numbers were reduced, and instead a vice principal was introduced. More administration, less teaching. I don't want that kind of thinking to be part of the innovation that we're seeing going forward. Finally, and I'm not sure how much of this is just my speculation and how much of it is really based in reality, we're reducing what I heard earlier today is we're losing about 11 positions, FTEs, 11.28, I think it was. Anyway, and that is based on a need to save money, understandable given the finances we're all looking at. But the reduction in enrollment, as I understand, is something that is cohort-based. Translation, when the birth rate declines, it's not the 5th and 6th graders that disappear, it's the kindergartners, 1st and 2nd graders that disappear. So if that reduction in force occurs evenly, which I hope you're not considering, then...
Charles, can you wrap up your last thought? Thank you.
Okay, well, just a brief note, I'd like to see that any reductions are proportionate to the number of students that are actually being served in any given grade. Thank you.
Any questions? Thank you, Charles. Okay, Shun, are you ready online?
Yeah. Yes, could you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I apologize. Like, I didn't realize the web forecast is delayed by about a minute, if not more. So there was a little issue there. Okay. Yeah. So I have a quick one here. My name is Shinyamato. I live in we live in the Benton County in the Corvallis School District, and I have a 6th grader at Sheldon who would be affected by proposed school closures. So I understand this may be a necessary step, stabilize the budget in Corvallis. Now just this quick thing. So now we're also going to be assessing high school closures right as the same group enters high school. So the current 6th and 7th graders will be, the most affected by those closures should be taken care of for their future success. And potential high school closure as soon as they enter again isn't it. Now, we're talking about 2 disruptions for these kids. How much do they want these kids to fail? Like, these are the same kids that have gone through, missed out on the early grades through COVID closures and all that. If closing the high schools in the near future, this conversation really and a process for these kids to go through, should be happening, now as well. It should not be hand waved through years. That's everything.
Any questions? Thank you, Shin.
Yes.
Chris Blacker.
Hello, my name is Chris Blacker. I am a parent in the district. I have 2 children at Letitia Carson Elementary. Good evening. For more than a decade, Corvallis has been in the middle of a demographic shift. Every year, our kindergarten classes are smaller than the year before. This trend is due to birth rates, a housing crisis, and families leaving for better opportunities. It's predictable, not temporary, and the impact is already here at our elementary schools. After the last 3 years of cuts, many elementary classrooms, including blended rooms, are sitting at 30 kids. Libraries and art have been cut in half. This is the result of 10 years of continued decline with no building consolidation. Families have seen it, and many have left. The district's own numbers are blunt. Elementary schools are projected to fall to just 59% utilization in 2 or 3 years, while our middle schools, Linus Pauling and Sheldon, will remain stable at 86%. In other words, elementary school populations are already collapsing while middle schools are healthy. And yet this proposal moves us in the opposite direction. It collapses the 2 middle schools into one, immediately pushing utilization above 100%, especially if Mountain View is not expected to take the 8th graders. It also pushes 6th graders into already weakened elementary schools. Adding 6th grade will only spread our recently cut resources even thinner. Less art, less music, less library. More sections to cover with the same shared librarians, art, and music teachers. It is also impossible to fund a middle school curriculum with elective suite across 11 elementary schools. 6th graders will lose opportunities, and elementary schools will be stretched past the point of breaking. Our new innovation team has no actual plans yet. They'll be experimenting in real time over 2 years on our students' lives. What's worse, our population decline will only continue, making this proposal nothing more than a political short-term Band-Aid, a 1 or 2 year fix that dumps kids into shrinking elementary elementary schools just to buy time. It doesn't stop the demographic trend. It's likely to accelerate it, as parents will leave due to the chaos. This plan sacrifices a healthy middle school structure to backfill half-empty elementary schools. It's simply short-sighted. If we want to be responsible, we have to strengthen elementary, where the population decline is hitting us first, and protect the middle school opportunities that keep students engaged. What will we do when the population falls again? When will we accept reality and make responsible decisions? I know we all want to keep all of our community schools. We may even want to make them K-6, but what happens when they're at 50% utilization again in just a matter of 3 to 4 years? Then we'll have to close those, and we won't even have a good middle school to send the kids to either. Electives will just be shattered. Staff will leave. I just feel our kids deserve more than this quick fix. I think they deserve a well-thought-out long-term plan that says we will have decent efficiency across all grade levels, across all cohorts for the next 5 to 10 years, and not to be gambling and guessing with experimental designs. Thank you.
Any questions? I think my question is, since yours is also based on hypotheticals, where did you get your backing for that? All of that would be
all the data I use is from the Corvallis School District budget 25-26, and the projection of birth rates is from Benton County Healthcare. It's 5, and we don't have a couple years. We have 5 years of health or birth rate data that's going to affect us, right? Because right now the kindergartners are already born 5 years in advance, so we already know. And then housing is the other thing that we keep talking about a lot on this board. You guys mentioned housing more than academic success by like a ratio of 10 to 1, and housing is not going to fix it because, as the person sitting here said, the district has said you need 4 new houses to get a new student or 5 new apartment units to get 1 student. We'd have to be building 1,000 to 1,500 houses every single year. There is no evidence and no data to show that we're there. We don't have the housing starts. We don't have the zoning changes that we would need. The last thing is we've needed to redistrict since 2018. One of the most, I think, heartwarming things I saw was one of the student liaisons from CV came with a letter with basically the entire student body, basically every single sports team, every single elective team, every single student that they could find, including staff, that said you have to redistrict. You've been waiting 7 years, and now you have almost 500 more kids at one high school than the other. That's the biggest reason why the high schools are having issues. Same with middle schools. You have many more children in Linus Pauling and Sheldon. It was mentioned that we're going to be 85% next year in utilization. That math doesn't make any sense. We have 820 or 30 kids right now in 6th and 7th grade. If we move them all to, we have like 1,220 kids based on the numbers that were up there earlier in the 2 middle schools. If you just take 2/3 of that population and move them over to Linus, that's over 800 kids. Supposedly the capacity is like 700 and something. So these numbers just don't make any sense. You cannot consolidate your middle schools right now because they're way too big. Like, we can't. The only way to work it is to push them together and then move all the 6th graders down to elementary, which only gives you a couple of years. Okay. So this isn't consolidation. It's just destroying the middle school structure to try to prop up elementaries that have to close. We have elementaries at less than 50% utilization, and they're just going to get worse every year that goes forward.
Okay, that wasn't what I didn't finish.
The data came from your budget.
No,
I'm sorry.
I didn't finish my question.
Please.
So that wasn't what I was actually talking about.
Please, sorry.
I was talking about the slashing of opportunities like electives and stuff like that, but you have 40 seconds, and I seen another board member's hand up, so maybe we can have a conversation at a later
Slashing
time.
electives, because 6th grade, you can't offer all the electives to 7 different schools. You just can't. You can't have that many. There's no way we're going to have the funding for that. What was the other question?
You have 30 seconds.
I feel 30 seconds will not be sufficient, but I'm curious, are you questioning the data and the math that the district is providing, and based on it, you disagree with the proposal, or are you?
Yes, I recommend closing elementary schools.
I did not finish the question.
No,
or are you suggesting specific proposal based on the data that the district is providing?
The data says close Franklin, close 2 elementary schools. That gets you to like 90% efficiency for elementary. It leaves the middle where it needs to be, and then you'll have to close high school in a couple of years, like Ryan's mentioned.
Thank you for answering the questions too, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate being able to speak to y'all tonight. So I'm Kusra Capular. I reside in the Corvallis School District boundaries, and I'm a child and family therapist, and I also am a volunteer in the Corvallis School District, and I'm a community member. So I guess from my experiences in the past as a skills trainer, I was in Sheldon and I was in Mountain View, and so I got to see what the dynamics were at that time. And Sheldon was a great spot for people to walk to school, especially a lot of low-income families were there. And so it reduced barriers for them to have a really good education, for them to have a school there. I did notice that at Mountain View, there were less, it was a smaller facility, and also there's not as much transportation. They can't walk to school the same way. So I definitely noticed that difference. I agreed with something that was said tonight, just to slow the process down. I really feel like making like a few different plans and having a few different proposals might be nice. I hadn't heard the idea to have a 7th to 12th grade and to have 2 of those. I thought that was a very cool idea. So anyway, I'm just supportive of the idea to kind of slow things down, make some more plans, come to a really solid one. If you decide to just stick with the 2 high schools and the 2 middle schools, I think maybe considering closing an elementary school or 2 might be helpful. I do want to advocate for CHS and CV because I think it's really valuable to have 2 high schools. And if you're trying to consolidate them, maybe having 10 and 11, and then, or like 9 and 10 at CHS because people can walk to school and bike, and then at CV having 11 and 12. So just kind of throwing some ideas out there, but I think maybe coming back to the table and just drawing up some more ideas might be helpful for the community. So thanks for having me talk. Yeah.
Any questions? Go ahead, Sammy.
Christopher, I really appreciate the thoughtful suggestions. Could you compare or contrast the thought process that you have in terms of the goals? So, for example, from the superintendent, we heard preserving programs, preserving the elementary schools as community hubs, and of course, use of resources and financials effectively were the goals that grounded the suggestions. What do you think? Do you agree with those goals, or do you have other goals that might be more priority that should take in their place?
Great questions. So the community hub aspect, I think, is really helpful. In fact, that's why I was presenting the idea that Sheldon might be a good place to just develop more and keep. And then I like the idea of middle schools being intact, but elementary schools also being intact, but maybe closing 1 or 2. And that might have they might have to be bused a little bit, but it would be less than the middle school, because middle school, the kids are often in electives and or like extracurricular activities, and so they're being bused. Being bused to Sheldon is just another layer of transportation needed. And so I think the model of the local community school is great. And I also think the equity is really important, and that's why I'm also bringing up the model or the idea that Sheldon could stay intact and be really beneficial, because that equity piece is really important for the low-income families. Yeah.
Any other questions? Great, thank you, Carissa.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, hearing no further comments, the public comment period is now closed. Thank you, everybody, for taking the time to bring your voices to the conversation. And okay, the next item on the agenda is nominations for Oregon School Board Association or OSBA Board of Directors and Legislative Policy Committee positions. I missed something. Sorry. It's on the bottom. I wrote so many notes of comments. I'm sorry. Sorry, Melissa. It's
totally
I covered
fine
yours.
with me. It's okay.
It's the integrated guidance is the next item on the agenda.
Do we want to wait?
Let's take a break while folk are transitioning around. 5 minutes. Real 5 minutes. Real 5 minutes.
close those.
Okay, we are back. So the next item on the agenda is the integrated guidance with Melissa.
Hi, everybody. Oh, what you have in front of you or in your board report today was the annual report for integrated guidance. So it was a review of our spending from last year, what we focused our attention on with our integrated guidance funds from the state. And it is the end of the 23 to 25 integrated guidance application. We've made a new application. You've seen that. It came out. We did that last school year. You've seen it. That's the new spending. So this is really just kind of an end game, and this presentation and you seeing it and it being posted on the website is a requirement from ODE. So that's why we're here. I don't have a presentation. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer. And if you don't have questions, next year I would just like to point out that this is my last integrated guidance report because Dr. Byron Bethards in the back of the room will be taking over integrated guidance as the Director of Student Growth and Experience. I'm sorry.
Does anyone have questions for Melissa? Go ahead, Sammy.
Of course, since this is last time you're on
You're
the
going
hook
to
for
grill
this
me.
one.
I'm ready. Okay.
What would you like to share with us or with the community to highlight from the reports that really need to be highlighted about the integrated guidance, whether as results that you have shared or as plans of what we need to do?
Thank you. I think what I think about integrated guidance is looking forward. So you have created some fantastic board goals for us as a district. Those board goals have been translated into scorecards for our departments and for our schools. And we're now able to take a look at our integrated guidance spending by taking a look at our scorecard. What's important? Where are we headed? And whenever we think about spending, we ask ourselves, is this the direction we want to go based on what the scorecard is telling us? The scorecard, our goals on the scorecard are connected directly to the board goals. It feels like the alignment is just really there. I don't think that that is a function of integrated guidance. I think that's a function of the school district, the fact that we have the board goals, the fact that we are working together as departments and schools to create school improvement plans, those scorecards, and we're aligned. So now we can look at that spending and be aligned in what we're spending our funds on. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah. Judah.
Okay, so I read this a while ago, and then I took a look at especially that one big number, the third grade ELA.
Yes.
Plus 15.1%.
Yes.
I was like, hot diggity dog. Love that. And then flipping to the next page and seeing that our 4-year cohort graduation and the 5-year, which we normally do really well at, have both dropped.
Right.
Is there something that we had done differently that's, first of all, working, especially look at third grade ELA.
Yeah.
Or then not working for high school because we're up, doing much better, regular attenders, and then high schools were looking down.
So taking a look at third grade ELA proficiency and remembering that those are definitely verified 23, 24 scores. So these are not this last year's tests that happened in the spring. These are a year ago. There's a lot to celebrate there with ELA, and that has so much to do with a curriculum that at both our English language schools and our dual language schools, and following that curriculum and using it in a way that helps to support students to learn how to read. So that's what you're seeing there, and that is some hard work from our coordinator team, specifically Amy Leeson and Marcian. So thank you for that. The 4-year cohort graduation rate and the dip was something that I think was kind of surprising to see, because I know that we're working really hard on relevant and engaging learning for our high school students, specifically focusing on AP classes, career technical ed classes. What can we do to help students to feel like what they're doing in high school will matter for them when they graduate high school? So that was disappointing for us. I know that our high schools are in their school improvement plans, their scorecard scorecards. Their work is particularly on graduation rate this year, but not as a whole number. Instead, they're taking a disaggregated look at their numbers for graduation, knowing that if they can increase those levels of disaggregated, so students who are on IEPs, students who are navigating poverty, students who are English language learners, if they can raise those scores, then all of those scores will increase. So I don't have an answer for it. Yes, it's not a celebration, but it does help us to focus in on that scorecard and have our high schools focused in on graduation rates in that disaggregated manner.
Any other questions for Melissa? Thank you for the report, Melissa. And I really like seeing those numbers go up too. And I know that they're way higher than the state in some areas too, that the district is doing. And so appreciate the work that the teachers across the schools and the coordinators are doing.
100%. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. Now the next item on the agenda that I try to skip ahead to, my bad, is nominations for the Oregon School Board Association, OSB Board of Directors, and Legislative Policy Committee positions. We are now accepting nominations for the Oregon School Boards Association Board of Directors position number 10. Does anyone wish to make a nomination?
Chair?
Yes.
I want to say the chair, Dr. Lahui White Bear, has been a phenomenal colleague on the Oregon School Board Association Board of Directors, not only as the president of the Color Caucus, but also in her capacity as a director representing the region that encompasses Lynn, Benton, and Lincoln. She have done phenomenal work and outreach to school districts, truly, literally every school district, and updated the roster of OSBA based on her outreach. It's like, you have outdated information, here's the information. Her wisdom has been phenomenal and really bringing questions for the board to discuss and to consider that has huge impacts on the state and on the kids in our region and the kids who are underserved in many communities in the Lynn, Benton, Lincoln. So with that preamble, I move that the Corvallis School Board nominate Dr. Lahui White Bear for the OSBA Board of Director position number 10.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved by Sammy and seconded by Judah to nominate me as the OSBA Board of Directors position 10. Is there any further discussion?
I really appreciate your sharing, Sammy, and disagree from all my experience, but just wanted to ask if this is a nomination that you would be excited to receive if we held a vote.
Yes, it would be one I would be happy to receive. I really appreciate being able to work with other districts in our region, and especially being from a rural school district graduate in our region and in Lincoln County. It means a lot to be able to serve beyond our school board and see how those decisions at the state level are impacting Corvallis and our region, and how we can work together to have a strong Lynn, Benton, Lincoln County districts. So yeah, I would be really happy to. Any other discussion? Okay, has been, okay, I thought you, it's been moved by Sammy and seconded by Judah to nominate me, Lahui White Bear, for the Oregon School Board Association Board of Directors position 10. Sammy?
Aye.
Judah?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Shauna?
Aye.
Therese?
Aye.
Bernie?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Motion passes. Thank you all for your confidence in me and serving our region and our local district. And we will see what happens with the votes in our region as well. And we also have nominations for the OSBA Legislative Policy Committee position 10 as well. Does anyone wish to make a nomination? I'll make, were you?
No, go ahead.
I was just going to make a comment about that the LPC person serving Region 10 from Central Lynn School District, I know that he has been nominated and has been working in strong partnership with me to keep our region as informed as we can. So I was just going to mention that.
I was just gonna ask, I know we're supposed to talk about this ahead of time, but is there somebody that, on our board that would like that position?
We don't have to nominate anybody
Okay.
as well.
I just want to make sure anybody that wanted it, that we would present that forward.
Thank you for checking, Chris. Did you have a question, Sammy?
I have something about NSBA related to nominations. Is it in order, or I can keep it to comments later?
You can keep that for comments later, because this is about OSBA. Yeah. Yeah. We could also double nominate people from other areas, but I think since Jason is already nominated from his district, that's good. Okay. So for that one, Kim, I believe there's a sheet, right, that you'll, okay. Okay. And then the next item on the agenda is consolidated action. As a reminder, the items under this portion of the agenda are for action. Does anyone have a question about anything in consolidated action? Shauna and Judah and Sammy. What do you?
The budget committee vacancies.
Budget committee.
The taxi contract
What is it?
The Dial-A-Bus contract award.
Dial-A-Bus. What did you have, Sammy?
Discussion, just brief discussion on the minutes.
Minutes. Okay. Which minutes?
The last meeting, which is the one we discussed the consolidation. That is the retreat. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay, so let's start with budget committee. Go ahead, Shauna.
Sure. So I noticed in the consolidated action for this week that there's an announcement for some budget committee vacancies. And so just wanted to draw attention to that for community members who might want to be engaged, but also noting that I know that this has happened in past years as well, where we have folks who have served partial terms on the budget committee. And so just a curiosity, I guess, in terms of, is that something that we, if folks leave after a partial service, just checking in terms of if that was something that folks enjoyed, learned from, found that amount of learning was what they were looking for, versus if being on the budget committee was different from what they expected, versus just curiosity around understanding why we might have a higher number of partial terms being served, to make sure we can support people well who are on the budget committee as well as those who might be interested. So I don't have an ask around that, but I just wanted to note that or bring that up for conversation.
Is that, oh, go ahead.
Do you want me to
Yeah,
respond?
go ahead. Yeah.
So I did send out a survey to all of you, and out of the 14 people that I sent it to, only 2 responded to get feedback on the budget committee. So it's a little bit difficult to assess how I can better support that group without that feedback. We do ask for a resignation letter from anyone who is only serving a partial term. And there's always different reasons why. Sometimes it's they're moving out of district, so they no longer qualify to be on the budget committee. Some, when they did apply for the committee, didn't understand what the committee's roles and responsibilities are. So there's always a bunch of different varying reasons, but I am definitely interested in and want to improve that process, but I do need feedback in order to do better on that. So we also have, when it's the same as like on the board, when if someone resigns, then someone may only fill that partial bit until that full term is fulfilled, and then it starts back over on the 3-year term. So that's why there's the different term amounts listed there. A lot of people don't want to do it for a 3-year term. I think it is a difficult role for community members to do, just as you all sit here in an unpaid position and take a lot of feedback and criticism, and I think that's difficult for people as well.
Thank you, Lauren.
Does anybody else have any other questions on budget committee? Okay. Dial-A-Bus.
I really just had one. Well, I'm going to pull a Teresa and do 2-in-1 questions. So am I correct in understanding that this contractor is currently providing individualized transport service?
Correct.
And so this is going to basically be continuation of the existing individualized transportation that is already set up for, there's not going to be a transition of service for students receiving that.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kim.
Well, wait, I had a question too. It was the other contract that long too? Because this goes till 36. Yeah. Is that a normal length for the bus contract?
I would say that typical length is 5 years, but we put into that contract that we could terminate or we could renegotiate terms. There aren't a lot of providers that provide this type of service, and what we saw for proposals was drastic in service level across the board.
Okay, thank you. That was my only question because it was pretty long.
Yes.
So, yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
No, thank you. Retreats minute, Sammy?
Since some people actually now I learned they go to AI in Google Notebook and they can read what happened in a board meeting through the transcript. I want to elevate what's in the minutes meeting from the retreat that's in the today's meeting about the school consolidation. So if someone and I was searching for a school consolidation discussion, I want to really highlight something really important. Thank you, Kim, for capturing the discussion that we had during the retreat in August school board meeting leading up to this meeting that really informed the board about the long-range facilities planning progress and the recommendations and some lessons learned that we discussed. So I just want to point that out for the community and anybody who's seeing the summary of discussion on school consolidation, that the meeting minutes from August retreat meeting include some really substantial information for those who want to see context how we got here and how we arrived into the proposal that was recommended to us today. So just wanted to make a comment and thank Kim and staff for preparing the minutes.
Thanks, Sammy. I think that the point in the process for that is important for people to remember that the board asked Ryan to bring one proposal. And so I thank you for bringing that up. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Anything else on the minutes? Okay. Consolidated information. As a reminder, the items under this portion.
Chair.
Oh, it's action. Oh my gosh. I did not have enough coffee today. I'm sorry, y'all. Does anyone wish to make a motion?
Chair, I move to approve consolidated action as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved by Sammy and seconded by Bernie to adopt the consolidated action items as submitted. Is there any final discussion? Okay. Has been moved by Sammy and seconded by Bernie to adopt the consolidated action items as submitted. Sammy?
Aye.
Judah?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Shauna?
Aye.
Therese?
Aye.
Bernie?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Motion passes. Thank you. And now we're on consolidated information. As a reminder, the items under this portion of the agenda are for discussion. Would anyone like to discuss an item in consolidated information? Chris?
Can we pull JFCEB, personal electronics devices?
The new one?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank
So-
you.
Is there any others that people would like to? Go ahead, Sammy. And Judah.
The same, and also the schedule of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance for unaudited June 30th, 2025.
The pre-audit report?
That's correct. Yep.
Okay. Judah?
Could we pull the JFCEB AR with the JFCEB?
Yes. Okay. So let's go in order on the, is there any others that folk wanted to discuss? let's go in order on the agenda with the pre-audit first, and then we'll do the policy.
So my question on the pre-audit, is there, it's related to the $3,100 difference between the excess of revenues over expenditures and basically that sale of or compensation for loss of fixed assets, 3,100. What is that?
I think we sold a trailer.
Okay. Thank you. That's all.
It?
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks, Lauren.
Thanks, Lauren. Okay. Was there any other questions on the audit report? Okay, let's look at the policy first, the JFCEB. Who pulled it? Was that you, Chris? Oh, Chris, you pulled it. Chris, you should go first.
I was hoping they would ask the question in a better way, because really I want to talk a little bit more about this policy as a person who did a lot of work under emergency evacuation and crisis. I just am wondering a couple things about the policy. It says that kids are allowed to keep their cell phones in a backpack or a locker or in a pouch, and I'm curious what is common right now with that practice. And then after looking at a lot of information across the nation about cell phones, I'm also wondering about what kind of support, this is not really policy, but it kind of is, what kind of support are we offering our office staff? Are they getting inundated with parents calling, leaving messages, or anything like that, where you would usually text your kid and say, hey, doctor's appointment, 10 o'clock, meet me in the front office? Like, are they getting overwhelmed? And I just want to check in on that. Let's start with those two.
Okay, thanks, Sammy. I mean, Chris. Okay. Oh, yes. We have to lighten it up. It's after 9 o'clock. Thank you. Okay. So with regard to where they're putting their devices, our elementary students have always not had them out. Our middle school students have spent the last 2 years keeping them away. So that's not been too much of a change. The big change really is for high school. Our 2 high schools have implemented, I had the language here, in-class storage. So just imagine those over-the-door shoe hangers, where you can put multiple shoes in a cloth thing. So they've purchased those to the tune of about $720 total, and they're putting them in all their classrooms. Students can walk in, put their phone in the holder, and then they go to their desk. I too have concerns about our emergency response, because our SRP, or standard response protocol, calls for students to be able to have their cell phones in an emergency once the big bad thing is kind of done. And there's a lot of research on the fact that them being able to text their parents after a big bad thing really tends to bring down the anxiety. So in fact, I talked with one of the assistant principals last week 2 weeks ago during rally, and he said, can we tell the teachers that when the students evacuate from a big bad thing, that they can walk up to the classroom hanger, grab their phone, and walk out with it? And I said, absolutely. I don't think that would be an issue at all. So the access is there for our high school kids who are most used to having their phone with them all the time. Speaking of phones. And then the next question was about office staff, and was about office staff. She was just giving me an answer. She phoned a friend. But Kim is in charge of our office managers and working with them monthly. I want to bring this to an office manager meeting to ask what Yeah, so what's that looking like? Because I haven't heard anything yet, but they tend to when they come together, talk more about the things that are stressing them. So I would like to hear from Kim in that conversation with office managers and come back to you with that. One of the things that I asked our levels coordinators when they worked with principals in reviewing this policy, I asked them to think about for principals to think about what do they currently do to allow kids to use phones in the classroom to call home, or is it walk down to the office, and to make sure that that is readily available. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping that these are things that they're easily putting into practice.
Thank you. Something I did read with the cell phone ban that's happening across the nation is that schools are creating I know we have a great communication plan, and Kelly does a great job with that, but they're paying a little bit more attention to the response. If there was an evacuation, the type of information that would go out, thinking that you might not have access to, kids might not have access. So just something to think about with that. I'm doing a lot of reading on it, and I appreciate that the kids would be able to grab that. I think that we might need to look at that, because in an emergency evacuation, you don't have a lot of time.
Right.
In some of the practices that we did. So I don't know how that is involved in policy, but I just would hope that we think about that a little bit.
It was brought up in the guidance from ODE, but not really addressed as much, even though many of our districts use SRP as an evacuation or an emergency response.
Thanks.
Well, this is new and going pretty well. There have been questions that have come up about things like that. Would it be better for kids to have it in their backpack, because then they may touch it less frequently? So that we're still working through what's going to make sense for us long term. But we also wanted to start the year with a policy in place rather than move it in the middle of the year. So I do think we're learning as we go to some degree, but also it's been going pretty well. So we don't want to make significant changes either.
Yeah. That's great. I'm glad to hear that, because I think for a lot of kids anticipated that this was going to be a lot more difficult than it really has been. So great. Thank you.
You have one too, Bernie, on this one?
Quick question.
Okay, and then Judah and Sammy after you.
Melissa, how much of this policy is direct translation from the governor's executive order?
Probably about 90% of it.
Okay.
I adjusted the order of things, and I also did a better job defining what a PED was, just to make it clear. I also honestly did not, I thought that the language around being able to use your phone on a school bus on the ride in and back was not very clear in the policy draft, so I adjusted that a little bit to make it more clear. So some of that language about if you're on a staff supervised school related activity, that you can't use your phone, but if you're not, then you can. So like athletic trips, you can use your phone on the bus. Riding home, use your phone on the bus. So most of it is, but I adjusted a little bit.
So it would also meet the requirement
It does.
of having the policy by 31st of October, right?
Right. So we're, like Ryan was saying, we're already implementing a no cell phone, policy in all of our schools, and or a no cell phone guidance. And now we have a policy to go along with it. So tonight is first read. Second read would be in mid-October, and then it would be in place by October. I mean, the policy would be adopted by October 31st, but we already are following it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So let me see if I can phrase this correctly. There are some devices that can be used for accessibility features, but there are other devices that are not, say, web capable that can be used for the same accessibility. I'm thinking of hearing aids. There's some great ways to incorporate them into your phone and use earbuds for that. If students are using devices as an accessibility aid, but there's technically something else available, are they having to go through the exceptions process to be able to use that?
No, we're not getting into that. If they're using the device for that accessibility, we're allowing that to happen.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. I think you answered several questions I was already intending to ask. So it's much a smaller list. OSBA policy. When the question was about the sample policy, you were referring to the OSBA policy.
I was, yes.
Can I ask you for a favor if you can share as a feedback to OSBA what we have developed? It might be very informative for them to consider our experience. Thank you. And maybe this is a conversation for offline, but I really want to tag a follow-up on Chris's feedback, which is there might be some deviation or differences between an actual evacuation of an emergency or clearing the classroom after an all clear, completely all clear, where like the threat is completely eliminated, where a timely clearing is not necessary. And I'm not sure if that will be easy to distinguish, but definitely those micro details might be important to consider, maybe not on a policy level, but happy to chime in.
Like in practice, yeah. And when I was thinking about those high school students being able to grab their phone from the shoe rack, I was thinking about it's all done. We've been sitting here for an hour waiting for law enforcement to open a door for us. So it should be, they should have time to be able to do it. But you're right, there's other situations that are not that quick. And so that's a consideration.
Wonderful, thank you. The other thing is my question was, can we always capture the cost? And what I'm understanding from you, it's going to be really minimal. Already we spent about less than $800, and we're not anticipating more cost unless we end up seeing an FTE hours being used on progressive disciplinary actions. That's the policy calls for. Can we have maybe a summary update on a frequent basis, and I'm talking even annual, just to capture how much this is costing us, as long as the capturing does not cost us a lot?
Okay.
The reason is we want to provide that feedback to the governor's office and to the legislature. Like this, they are expecting us to spend money on this from nowhere.
Right. It was money that we don't have, and money that they're not giving us. So we went with the least expensive option and did it this way instead. But I know that they provided all kinds of information about how much those special pouches cost and how much the magnets cost and how much staff would cost to run the magnets. And we're not doing any of that because that's money we don't have and we don't want to spend on that activity.
So you could just refer your colleagues at other school boards to the FAQ that ODE put out, because it identified costs associated with implementation of the policy.
Wonderful. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Then we don't need to do that on our own.
They calced it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Another thing, as we continue implementing the policy, and I'm hearing there's not much drastic change from our actual practice. Do you anticipate by January, when the session comes in and they want to enshrine that potentially into a law, do you expect us to have any lessons learned that the board can hear or that we can pass on to the legislatures? Like, here's how this is impacting us, and here's maybe how the legislature need to tweak what the executive order now looks like into a law?
I think we can just kind of watch how we're going up to that point. We've had a few parents email and say, give their opinion on the decision, but the decision's the decision. So we're following the executive order and we're doing the policy the way that it was intended. So if we have any feedback, we will bring that forward in January or later.
That'd be great. Thank you.
I had a question on it, or a couple of questions too. We did receive actually communication on this one too about I know it's outside of our control because it's a executive order from the governor, but it was about outing students with disabilities since they're the ones who have an exception.
Yeah.
And is there support in place for students to encourage them to have them if they need them? In that way, they're not feeling like embarrassed about it, because some students didn't want people to know, perhaps.
Right. Yeah.
And so I'm wondering if you all have thought about that part for the support part.
That's something that I would want to talk with Megan, our new special ed coordinator, about, to make sure that that's a conversation she's having with her staff during their staff meetings. But that's a great consideration.
Yeah, I was kind of concerned about that too. And then I have a question about the practice with the high school students, and I don't understand how that's following the law if they have their cell phones in their possession, like out in passing, are at lunch. And so kind of, since it's like bell to bell, right? So how does that working if they're using pouches?
Do you want to talk about it? Because you've been doing it. You look like you want to say something.
Well, they put it in their backpack and they walk out of class with it. I haven't been seeing them in kids carrying them
In the hallways.
in hallways at lunchtime or in passing periods.
Okay, so my question, I guess, is why do they have to put it in a pouch then instead of leaving it in their backpack?
It was a matter of buildings trying to come up with a plan to make it. This is the system they're trying right now.
Okay, it seems opposite of what I would think, because you would think they would be trying to have them just keep it in there and be responsible and everything, especially if all the other students can have them in their backpacks all day and not mess with them. So it's just kind of.
Well, they're just trying to make it a non-issue by having all of the high schoolers have them in the pouches.
Okay. Okay. That was all my questions. Thanks. Alrighty.
Did you have a question about the AR?
Oh yeah, the AR.
Make sure I could ask the question about like next thing they have to use that for.
Okay. Yeah. And you don't have to do the exception form if it's, yeah. So if it's a 504 or IEP. Can. Exactly.
So your question was answered on the AR?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, that was everything on consolidated information then. And then the next item on the agenda is board member comments. Is there any board member comments? Chris?
Sorry, I know it's really late, but I did want to say two things. I probably could have done this on the board report, but I did attend city council meeting. As I said, I would start to attend as many as I can, and I did attend one. And so I just wanted you to know that I represented us. And I just, a good discussion they were having was about the West Hills Corridor Plan, which really affects our district in a way that they're creating a safer route to school, basically, on the West Hills Road. And so I thought that was really interesting. And one thing that they're doing that I didn't know about was when they're making now bike paths in the area. And if you look at downtown where coming over the bridge on Harrison, they are raising bike paths higher than the road, which is creating a safer route for bicyclists and walkers, which is going to affect our kids that are going to Adams School, and that new residential project that they're putting in on 53rd, that will affect that as well. And so I thought that was really good information for us to know. And then I just wanted to say one more thing. In a recent article in the newspaper, there was some comment about, it was just kind of a negative article about the board and our district and how we feel about teachers and equity. And I just really wanted to reemphasize the fact that we have a very unique school board in the fact that we're very positive and that we're really into supporting our students. That's our priority, and our staff. And the article didn't really reflect that. And I just wanted to re-emphasize that we, as I guess I should speak for myself, that I really feel that we have an amazing staff in our district that is working really hard to do the right thing. And I just wanted to make sure that that's communicated, and that we as a school board, I just feel like we're really trying really hard to support our staff and our students, and that is our priority. And I just didn't think that reflected in that article. And then I just want to remind all of us, as we're going through really tough conversations, that we remember to take care of ourselves. That I know these are really hard to come to, and that we do what we need to do before we come to a board meeting or afterwards. You know, drink lots of water, take lots of walks, whatever it does to help you. Just because I know it's going to be a tough next few months. Thanks.
Thank you, Chris, for sharing all of that. I just wanted to thank staff across schools who, over the last couple of weeks, especially with back to school, have brought so much care and energy and effort and enthusiasm to really welcoming students back into schools, or maybe to schools for the first time, as well as their families. There were so many emotions this time of year to manage, not only their own emotions, but the emotions of all of those students and family members as well. And just wanted to give a shout out to the incredible staff in the district for giving their all to this back to school time.
Just real quick, I wanted to highlight that Festival Latino is back in Albany this Saturday from 12 to 5 at Monteith Park. There is going to be dancing and singing and food and booths and cool stuff. So just to highlight that that is back available after, I think, a 5-year absence, and I am planning on going.
When and where?
It's at Monteith Park from 12 to 5 on Saturday.
Yeah, so I had the opportunity at the end of August to sub for the Garfield Garden as the primary waterer. They have one garden bed that what do they call it? The irrigation. Yeah, that's it. The irrigation didn't work. And so every day I marched myself over there and watered, and I harvested too. And while I was working on that, I saw community members coming in and picking tomatoes and, using the space. That was really lovely. So I think that's a beautiful space. I'm glad that it's getting used by the community, but also learned that they have been donating the items that the produce that they've grown, they've been donating to a local food bank. And so that was very exciting to hear. And I just think that's a really lovely, there's a lot of hard stuff, but there's also a lot of these really sweet gems out there, like our little kids that are helping to pick tomatoes and give them to the food bank. And that is a really, really important thing for us to remember. Our kids are poised to do well and give and care and support. And I appreciate that we have a district that's making space for them to be able to participate in that. And the tomatoes were amazing. I did partake of one or two while I was picking them. Anyway, it's a lovely space. If you have not had a chance to go by and see it, since it's been relocated after the remodel there, please stop by and see it. It's raised beds. They're accessible. So it's really a lovely space. The other thing I wanted to just give a compliment to is the staff who organized the registration days for our largest, like for Corvallis High School specifically, but it's a lot of kids coming through, many of whom do not know what they're doing. I saw, my son started high school this year. I saw a number of kids in the hallway that could not figure out their lockers, and there were staff right behind going, let me show you how to do this. Figuring out your locker is not an easy thing to do. It doesn't make any sense. Turn so far and then you can't turn, you have to only turn back a little bit, and it's confusing if you've never done it. And so I appreciated the staff that were there to just help even the smallest things like getting adjusted to being able to open a locker and have that work before their first day was really impressive. And I think it really helped the kids to feel excited and welcomed for their first day. So also loved that the kids, the transition kids, so coming into high school, coming into middle school, got to have their first day and really get to feel like they could get to know and own that space. I think that's really valuable. I know that takes extra time and coordinating from our district, but I think that the payoff is definitely worth it. So those are just a couple ways that I saw our district doing a really great job making space for kids and helping them to feel included. And so thank you so much for continuing to prioritize those things.
Sorry to interrupt. I may have said Saturday is the event. It's Sunday.
It's Sunday. That's a big important detail there.
Any other board member comments? Sammy?
I have a few, and I'll try to be mindful of the time. I don't want to break a record. We go overtime. It's 9:30. We should be done, right?
We should be done.
Okay.
2 minutes
should
ago.
be done.
That's fine.
So I'll be very brief. First of all, I want to concur with my colleague Chris about the concern when the media is the fourth power. They hold us accountable. They help us celebrate, and they help us put the sunlight on the issues at hand when government works. And that's why the media needs to work hard when facts are shared accurately or frankly when the economic model, unfortunately, is a clickbait. When people are encouraged to click on something, sometimes titles or headlines are not accurate, inflammatory, or flat false. And I believe that has been going on for a while, not only one outlet of media. And I share that with a huge concern to say that because I'm a believer in independent media, and I believe we should always celebrate the media. But also, it's this shared accountability that's I need to say it at the same time. Say when they share a rumor of a closure of a school that's not true, or they share a headline that's really is not accurate or representing the board actions, it just makes me really sad, especially when what Chris highlighted, which is the phenomenal work our district does on equity and elevate the work that we have committed ourselves to and the high bar we always work on. I think that's really important to highlight. So thank you, Chris. For anybody listening to this, the bottom line of it is click into the article and also look into the school district work, listen to the facts, reach out to any board member in the community and validate what you hear. And if you are moving to Corvallis, Corvallis schools are the best schools that I can imagine sending kids to, and I have seen many school districts. With that, I want to go to another point quickly, which is the community participation today was phenomenal. I really want to thank people for reaching out and sharing with passion about different alternatives. I am confident that this will help us refine and evaluate and validate the proposal in front of us and any alterations that might come forward. So really want to say this was very, very valuable, and I just want to reiterate that. Another issue that I don't think it's a school board business, but I want to share it because I've been reached out to by community members and advocates from different sides about the landfill. It's a county decision. It's a quasi-judicial decision of the county commissioner, so we can't even lobby them on it. However, I have heard concerns about the landfill expansion. I heard advocacy telling us we need to worry about how much the cost of the trash will be for the school district. Or how that impacts our values on sustainability and making sure we're using resources well. So I don't know if this is a topic leadership want to consider. I just wanted to elevate it. It's a community discussion that I'm hearing from community members and advocates, and you might be hearing from folks trying to persuade us one way or the other. Last but not least, I apologize. I came really late and I had to drop from the virtual to being here. I had to have restroom break on my way from the airport, so I missed the NSBA report. In addition to the reports, I just want to say I just came back from the Council of Urban Boards of Education, and I'm going back tomorrow. And one of the highlights, I met Colin Kaepernick, who happens to have a connection to Corvallis. Ryan, correct me, he played baseball or basketball here? Baseball in Corvallis. So he has a connection to Corvallis, and also now he have a connection to education. He's leading work on the use of AI in a very mindful way to help students learn about literacy and storytelling in the school. And that's really exciting work to do. So it was a really great conversation to meet him last night, and today he spoke to hundreds of school board members about that topic. Also, one update from NSBA. They're going to offer board members or superintendents or administrators all the way to educators a certification on the use of AI. So it will be a certification program where you can attend multiple trainings on that. So that will roll out soon, and as soon as details will be there, I'll share it. Another thing from NSBA, this morning I was in the Los Angeles Western Carpenters Union Training Center. Therese and Bernie and I attended their training center here in Tangent, and that grew the opportunity for them to sponsor site visits for about, I think, 40 or 50 board members from all across the nation to visit their training center there, learn about pre-apprenticeship programs and how CTE programs can lead to good paying jobs. So it was really, really exciting opportunity to see that. I did some virtual welding, so you can actually do welding with a 3D glass. I scored 50%, so definitely need training if I want to get there. It was really great. But they were going to put me on the elected officials leaderboard. Apparently 50% was high. Last but not least, I just want to say all of that. Thank you for the board for trusting me in putting those conversations across the states and the nation. I want to highlight all of those expenses were paid by those organizations, so the school district's professional development fund was not tapped into by all of this work. So that's all of that is a preamble to an opportunity for any one of you or any of our colleagues in Oregon. The Pacific region of NSBA has 3 board directors. I'm one of them, the only one from Oregon. And there is another person from Washington and another person from Nevada. And the Washington person she's termed out. So now there's an opening, and the deadline is extended to September 19. No board action is necessary. If either one of you want to join, that will be the first time ever that's Oregon sends 2 board members to an SBA. Or if you have met someone from Oregon that you think should be nominated and tapped into, encouraging them to go and do this work, please let me know. We can do that offline. Corvallis does not need to make an action. Just so I want to share that with you. So if you're interested in that work, you have until September 19th to make a decision.
Thanks, Sammy. Any other board member comments? Okay, I just had a couple. One is I wanted to make sure that the community knew that the board did not put the school district through an equity test. So I just wanted to make sure that people knew that that was not a thing that happened. And that if people want to hear an update on the Osborne conversation, please, that information has gone out to folk, but I just wanted to remind everybody that that's on the 29th. What time's it at, Ryan, again? 6:30 p.m. at Linus Pauling Middle School. So I encourage people, if you want to know updates on Osborne, to check that out. And again, please come to the community sessions and continue to send the board your thoughts on the consolidation. You can email us all at one time at board@corvallis.k12.or.us. And speaking of the consolidation, I just wanted to mention a couple things about there being one proposal and also the timeline. Having one proposal, I think, has brought some ideas from the community that we may not have otherwise heard. And so it may feel hard to not have choices of like picking something, but I think we're actually hearing more ideas this way. And so I wanted to thank the community that's bringing those thoughts in and questions. And the timeline feels really rushed for some folk, but thinking from our view of how long it takes to make plans for a big change like this feels really important. As Ryan had pointed out earlier, having it earlier in the year and not later in the year, and also not having it be way into the winter would make it really hard, knowing how the decisions are made from with admin to the building level admins with their staff, and learning about all of that over the past few years. This feels like a timeline that's needed. And so I apologize to the community if it does feel rushed. It also doesn't feel rushed when you think of all of the things that have to happen after. And so I just wanted to explain a little bit more. I know that Ryan and other folk have gone over that before, but just to reiterate that part, I think it's important. And then I just wanted to say, I know that that things are feeling a little bit unstable for a lot of people in the community for a variety of reasons, and due to national climate. And so I just wanted to say, like, we understand and are doing our best to on the board to try to support our community and the students and staff and families that are part of the district. So that's all I wanted to say. And with that, we have no further business, and we are adjourned at 9:42 p.m. Thank you.